And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, all of the lovely Arvanauts. I was about to say all the lonely people, and I'm like, what? What am I doing? You're not lonely. You're here. You're here with all of us. It is great to see everybody. Welcome to day 24 of Adventures in Middle-earth, Erebor Adventures. We are very excited to have everybody here for our fellowship phase. It looks to be a very productive one. The crew is all very excited about leveling up their characters to level 8. The dizzying height of level 8, where they'll be able to just, defeat Sauron by themselves and all that stuff. That's not even vaguely true. But they're very excited, and we are excited to have them, and excited to have all of you with us along this very exciting ride. But before we go any further, just a couple of reminders about ways to support us here on the channel. If you haven't done so already, and also I should say it is a Tuesday, July 27th, 2021 at about 12:25 p.m. Always want to make sure I time and date stamp this for posterity. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube. Discord is !ArvCord. Twitter is !ArvTweets. And website is arvineleron.com. And we get a bot immediately. Goodbye, bot. That was great. And arvineleron.com. On the financial side, if you haven't done so already, please consider supporting us because it does make a difference. !Arv Shop is our merchandise area where you can get stuff for Infinity and Beyond and Adventures of Middle-earth, and soon to be Esper Genesis stuff as well. Again, this is the correct bot, exactly. Hi, Echo. So this stuff is currently under construction. The store page is under construction, so please I do apologize for the mess. Please forgive our mess as we get things back and ready and more able to serve you. But you can get stuff for Adventures of Middle-earth, and that definitely makes a big difference. If you haven't already done so, please consider jumping on board with us on the Patreon, which is !ArvTreon, currently sitting at 23 patrons, $2.14 per month. I know I always sound like a broken record on this, but it's so incredibly valuable and helpful to be able to have that source of revenue, which allows me to basically put that towards stuff in the channel, which allows me to help pay for not only the internet costs there, but also lets me put stuff right back directly into the quality of the stream, like the lighting stuff, allows me to pick up various video games chosen by chat for the Patreon chat chosen game of the month every month, and also allows me to do stuff like pick up various books and adventures and all that things for our tabletop play. So all that really helps. Plus for you, it can give you individual benefits like inspirations to help our players. It can give you a copy of one of my band's albums and professional writing critiques and a bunch of other stuff which is available there. So that really helps. And the channel as a whole can move towards channel goals like another Arvanaut Idol contest, like a talisman tournament and things like that. So please consider jumping on board because we would really appreciate that if you're able to do so. That again is !ArvTreon, and you can sub to the channel, which gives you those awesome sub badges and emotes and those awesome things to use everywhere across the Twitch. Now that Shoutout is back from his lake vacation, we hope to have some sub badges coming in pretty soon, which we will be able to roll out. We have a whole bunch more that are coming out there that I have commissioned, again, thanks to the power of the Patreon and subs allows me to pay for these things. So you got more sub badges coming your way as well. So any support you can give by subbing to the channel is appreciated. And of course, if you haven't already done so, the publishing stuff. Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts, which is award-winning on a two times over now. Athos Arts is also the publisher of record for my Greyshade novel. I'm working on revisions on Greyshade right now, which have just come in from John Helfers. I already went through the revisions that were suggested by E.D.E. Bell from the amazing Athos Arts. And Athos Arts is doing not only Greyshade, but the other two books in that series, which will be Renegade and Heretic. That will be part of the Kickstarter, which is going to be launching in 5 weeks now, August 31st, just over a month. It's going to be launching, and I'm very excited for that. It'll be ending on October 3rd during during the Origins Convention in Columbus, Ohio. So very excited for all of that, and I hope you folks will consider getting on board by checking that out with !Greyshade KS. And ! Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That is my 5e adventure and source book from Alligator Alley Entertainment. Already out in digital for many months, now going out in print. It's going to be available to the general public in print in October in various retailers. Kickstarter folks, of course, have already had it sent in their direction, so it's being fulfilled over time to various places, so that should be on the way. And that, again, Alligator Alley is also responsible for Esper Genesis and is also responsible for doing the tabletop role-playing part of Grey Shade, which is going to be coming up, and we'll be launching that'll be part of that Kickstarter, the Grey Shade Kickstarter that I mentioned before. Last but certainly not least, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and exclamation point Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when they need help and to reach out to others when you need help as well. Quick note on scheduling. So we've got Adventures of Middle-earth, Erebor Adventures Fellowship Phase going on right now. That'll run until about 3:15 or so. At 4 p.m. Eastern, we will be moving into the second day. It's been like 5 weeks since our last D&D with GOG session, just because we did that one early in last month and we're doing it late in this month. We've obviously had Talisman Adventures already, but we have D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and you will not want to miss the introduction to this, folks, because we may have a little surprise for all of you in the introduction department. I'll just say that. So very excited about it. You will not want to miss it. That's happening again at 4 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to be launching there over on GOG as we continue with that awesome Ghosts of Saltmarsh campaign. Tomorrow is off. Thursday is off. On Friday, we will be back with Esper Genesis. The second, finally, the long-lasted, it's been a while, but we're finally going to get a freaking session into Esper Genesis. Just been like a confluence of events, but we will finally be doing that. I'm very excited about it. Big moment, inflection point in that campaign coming up. Again, that's sponsored by Alligator Alley as well. And then on Saturday, we will have the second session this month of D&D with Infinity and Beyond with our Eberron campaign, which was really cool last Saturday. And that will wrap up the month of July as we move into August, and what promises to be a very exciting month of August to come. So thank you for being here and being all a part of that good stuff. And now I'm going to unmute myself as the folks look like they're ready to go. I don't actually think I interrupted them this time because I think they were all like staring down at books and getting ready to level up their characters. So I think they're all just like deep in thought, at least is my suspicion.
No, you interrupted me. I tried to pronounce the word rot.
Rot. What hath he wrought? What hath they wrought? Yes.
Rot?
Rot.
Back when English was more German, it would have been rocht.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Which is like the ultra past tense of right.
English is like doofe Sprache.
Like quote is the past tense of tweet.
That's right. I hath wrought this package. Twat? Oh, wait, Echo, does that mean that you got your package? Echo, does that mean you got your package? Oh, yeah, you did? You got your package that I sent? It has arrived. Hey, there it is. Awesome. That's great. That means I can now officially throw out my tracking forms for the stuff that was sent. Good. So it has arrived. So you got your Icarus Jelinek dice bag from Kraken Dice and the dice, all of this from ArfCon. So I'm glad that you got it. Enjoy it in good health, Echo, and I'm glad that you got it and that it seems to be in relatively good condition. So we are here with Adventures of Middle-earth, and we've got a fellowship phase to deal with. But first, we need to introduce these lovely people who will be in this fellowship phase. So I will start with the gentleman directly below me, who just revealed to all of us. I mean, I've seen it before, but revealed to the rest of us what he looked like back in the mid-'90s. We now have information, can confirm. What Trent looked back in the midnight. So now we know, and this is the kind of thing that they get to see. This is the perk of being in the green room. You know, you get to see stuff like this. But Trent, how are you now that we are in 2021 and not the mid-90s? How's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing today?
I'm decidedly more employed than I was back then.
That's fair enough.
As I was completely unemployed in that picture, as you can see. Which is why I was drinking a Red Wolf beer, which is made by Budweiser, and Budweiser is impossibly shitty beer. But
the American one, yes, not the Czech one.
There's a Czech Budweiser?
Yeah, where do you think the name comes from?
I have no idea. I don't drink beer. I don't drink alcohol.
It's a town in Western Czechia. This is where the original Budweiser comes from.
Really?
I did not know that.
That's
wow. Okay.
Things you do not know. I did not realize that.
Yeah, all learned, I guess.
And eventually German immigrants moved to Texas, and thought, wow, all this beer is shitty. So they created another brewery there where they made Shiner Bock, which was the only good beer I ever had in Texas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to make it also equally shitty. The shittiest
No.
beer I ever knew about was where you could get back in the mid '90s trend, $5 for a case of what was called red, white, and blue beer, and it's just as bad as it sounded. American shit quality coming at you. Anyway, but not that I would know because I don't drink. But anyway, moving on to you, Trent. As I was saying.
And yet you do know. But anyway.
Well, this is what I was told. I mean, all I know is that my friends just got his drunk hat. I was always the designated driver regardless, right? So it didn't matter. Anyway.
Yeah. So, I'm Trent Sparks. I am a professional voice actor and audiobook narrator, which is a portion of my introduction I didn't do on Saturday night for Infinity and Beyond because I was talking about something else.
That's true.
I don't remember what, but I was. Anyway, so I narrate Shadowrun and BattleTech audiobooks for Catalyst Game Labs, and on occasion, I narrate short stories for the Escape Pod podcast, the next one of which is coming out on Thursday. So it's called The Tiger. No, it's not called The Tiger. It's called Tiger Lawyer Gets It Right. And it's so much fun. I love reading that stuff. Anyway, so I am playing the very tall Tonnebear the Hearthminder. I already screwed it up.
Yep. He is Tawny Boar, the Marner.
Well, he is a
elf
horseman
friend
now.
and
He is a
barn burner scholar.
Yeah. He only burns barns that horses aren't in.
Yes.
So yes, he is Thane Tonnebear, the Hearthmender dwarf friend. And he is a master healer, former berserker, and potentially, crazed eater of friend flesh, just because he's cuckoo, a berserker. So anyway, that's I long not to besmirch any of my fellow players. By the time we finished our last game last week, I already knew what I was doing for my character upgradance. So
I look forward. I will be coming to you first, since I suspect those of some others may need a little more buffer time as we're going through this. So that'll be great. Always a pleasure, Trent. Thank you. Also a pleasure to have Brad with us. Brad, welcome back once again to the land of Middle Earth. How is life in the universe with you? Is there anything you want to tell us about your time in the mid '90s, and who are you playing today?
Yeah, I will have to dig up some photo. Well, I actually wasn't a big photo taker. I didn't mind them much, but I never took many. So I actually don't have a lot from that era. But anyway, I'm excited about our leveling up, and the last adventure was great. Looking forward to the new stuff. I have, just me, not my character, has a book out. This is the UK version of A Desert Torn Asunder, which just came out.
Nice.
In the UK and Australia, Ireland. So it's the 6th and final volume of the Song of the Shattered Sands. Arabian Nights meets Game of Thrones is kind of the elevator pitch. So if that is of interest, take a look. And for today, I'm playing a very short character named Bolabras Took. He is an excitable young treasure hunter with bright eyes that are slowly dimming as the world invades and he understands the way of things.
It's like the worst arc. Like he's just
yeah, I know.
He just walks along the street. He listens only to grunge. And just
the world is terrible. Well, after the experience he had last time, which is gone now, but it's haunting him. The what was it? What was the condition he had?
Miserable.
Miserable. Yeah, the misery that affected him greatly. So we'll play that out a little bit during the fellowship phase here.
Yep. And I'm going to be exactly. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the impact of that misery as we go through. But always a pleasure to have Brad with us, who in real life hopefully is not miserable. Also, hopefully not miserable in real life is the amazing and wonderful Terry Tunes. Welcome, Terry. Terry was occupied in doing incredibly timely stuff in terms of research and preparation, like very immediate to our immediate circumstances right this second. And so I guess I don't have to ask. This is something where we were joking about. What were you doing in the mid '90s? And they were like, just being born, Arv. Ha ha hardy hardy har. I'm like, okay, great, yeah. riotously
Yeah, like the
funny.
year we were specifically talking about, I was 4 years old, so that is nice. Though, like, speaking of the 90s, I did go through some, like, to an old package that my grandpa has left me when he died, which had all the old art I drew for him when I was a little kid in it.
Oh wow.
And like all the little, like all the, like, from the 90s, like drawings of like suns with sunglasses on and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
No,
That's cool.
as one does draw the sun correctly, always needs to wear sunglasses.
Sure, obviously, that's makes total sense. Yeah, I just when I think I mentioned that when I was dealing with basement flooding a couple of weeks ago, and I was going through some old photos, and I was finding like old photos of my dad and my mother's acting portfolio and stuff like that, and just like, man, like it's very odd to look at one's parents at the ages of like 20s and things like that, or when they were at that age, just because that's not how you remember them. Anyway, so that's cool though. I like the old drawing style. Did you get any hint in looking at that old drawing of what someday you would soon become? What in the future your
No,
dizzying
but
heights that you would become?
I noticed a different thing, like, because one of the artworks in there was a picture I drew in like first or second class.
Okay.
In art class, the very first sunflower I ever painted. So that's where that started.
Okay.
My obsession with sunflowers. So yeah, that's something. Definitely gonna frame that one and hang it somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you,
It's
Echo.
not actually terrible for the painting of a first grader.
See,
I'm
amazing. It's almost like you had some aptitude in this.
No, the rest is absolutely fucking terrible. Just
okay, just that one is only good. Yeah. Who are you playing in today's campaign?
I'm playing not a sunflower, but a dwarf. I don't know if they have sunflowers in Middle Earth, actually.
I cannot see Inga being a sunflower. No, I don't. It doesn't seem to quite fit.
A thistle, maybe. Thistle. But no, she. Yeah, Inga. She's a dwarf. Thane Inga Homefinder, daughter of Ida. Council of Dine the Second. She is a clan chief and wanderer, and she has a cool axe that does all cool sorts of magic shit. And she has a horse pony sidekick thing
called Lillimon, who was hugely important in the last adventure. Let's be clear.
Yes.
And almost sacrificed
the
himself,
MVP, the
but
most
was
important
saved.
pony.
He was the MVH, or I was gonna say, yeah, the most most valuable pony. Yes, he was the most valuable pony. Man, I am excited to see how Inga, because Terry was reacting to what it is that she's thinking about getting for Inga, so I'm excited for all of you to see the enjoyment we just saw, her joy at what might happen with Inga's leveling up in just a minute. But before we get there, we do have to introduce, of course, our dear friend and resident Canadian for the purposes of this podcast, for the purposes of this show anyway. And that, of course, is Amal. Mal, good to see you. How are you? How is life in the universe with you? Do you want to tell us what was going on? You said grade school. What else was going on in the mid-90s that was exciting, and who are you playing today?
Well, in the mid-90s, I was 10. And what was going on? Actually, probably what was going on is I was just learning how to roleplay. I was just being introduced to the internet, which would go on to define a stupid amount of my life and choices. And I was probably just starting to read Star Trek fan fiction, which is the very first thing I did on Al Gore's internet. Yeah, the whole thing. It was actually, no, I won't give any more details about it. I don't want anyone to actually go find it. But yeah, so no, things are, I knock on wood, things are cool. The most exciting thing for me lately is that I have started writing a novel at last. I have 238 words.
Yay!
Of this novel. It's a start.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
That's 1/1 billionth of Brad's typical novel word production.
Yeah, I really have no idea I know what typical novel lengths and things are. I just it's still very much at the phase of it's begun. It's started. I have some words in a document. There's a document with the name of the novel on it, and that's cool.
And everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
That's enough, right? Like you could just be like, I'm done, right? Like here's the document with some
if
words.
that were the case, I would have 50 different books out by now.
Yeah. Well, right. Everyone knows that story. Yeah, it's true.
But no, so I'm quite excited about it. I mostly am just like, you know, the thing about for me, novel writing, like obviously I've been writing short fiction. I've got this novella. There's writing has not ever particularly been a problem, but I don't have like a trunked novel that I wrote when I was 12 or whatever, that like, you know, like a lot of writers who are novelists will be like, I have all of these books that I've written that are on my hard drive. That has not been the case for me ever. I tend not to write at that length. So just having like a novel scoped project, I guess, is something that I have been wanting for a long time and wanting to do for a long time. And so now that it has begun, it actually feels real. And the whole point of like I blocked off July and August to basically just be able to focus on this as like time away from teaching and everything else. So and I'm just really glad to see it's been working out. Also, I finally, this is sort of old news at this point, but I finally have my contributor copies of my first comic, and it's so pretty. Actually, I'll find you like the prettiest page by my lights is like this glorious double page spread by Isa Hansen, who's the incredible artist of this. And also this is sort of a massive tease because I don't think these are available anymore. Like COVID delayed the arrival of them, but these are the two variant covers.
Say, let me see those.
This is Danny Pendergast. Where is it? Pendergast. Yes, Danny Pendergast's cover, and this is Peach Momoko's cover, and they are both extremely
really cool.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, I am actually I'm definitely going to do a giveaway of at least one of them. I only got one of these, so I'm gonna have to keep that one for me. But I got a whole bunch of these, so I'll be happy to do a giveaway for those.
Nice.
In my newsletter. So if anyone is interested, you can always sign up for that afterwards and be in with a chance, as they say. But yeah, otherwise, I'm enjoying my balcony garden. I harvested a gigantic cucumber this morning and the first little cherry tomatoes, and they made me very happy. And yeah, there's been some weird weather advisory stuff here because of forest fires in the north and west.
Yep.
So everything has been, I mean, I'm really glad that it's raining and clear now, but yesterday there was a like air quality warning and stuff, and it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it got on the West Coast the last couple of years, but it's weird enough for this area that it's been a bit troubling. But we're here and happy, and it's pretty good, not bad. And I'm playing a character called The River. This is she. I did my hair like hers today. And so The River is a woodsman of Rosgobel. She has a faithful hound of Mirkwood named Stone, and she is a fighty bard. She is a warden who uses her words and her axes to make her points.
I see what you did there. It's very edgy.
Yeah. You're picking up what I'm putting down. This is good. Yes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Getting a head-splitting headache over this.
Outstanding. This is good stuff. That's a deep cut there.
Oh my God!
You don't fight me. You don't go into a blood battle. You're not gonna. So I did want to say, by the way, this will be appropriate since Brad's here too, that as everybody knows who's watched us for a while, Brad's and my first ever Speculate show that we did many years ago now, over 10 years ago now, was with Saladin Ahmed and Amal. And during that time, Amal may not remember this part, but Amal commented on the fact that, like, yeah, you know, I just had done way too much gaming at the time, and I realized that, you know, I needed to refocus on stuff. And I'm glad that I have, over time, pulled you away back into the gaming world, slowly, step by step, inch by inch, to be able to grace us with the gaming skills. But
try to get
this
out.
Is much better.
Just pull me back in. It's true.
This is a much better, healthier, more nourishing gaming setup than what I previously had, I will say.
Okay.
Like this time-bounded, you know, twice a month situation where I can enter a world and it's wonderful, and it's not what it had been previously, which was like, you know, in-game consequences if you weren't playing it more or less in real time, which was messed up.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
it was just
Not my favorite style. Yeah, I've seen
Wait,
it.
what?
It's like people.
Literally, there were like some people who were in this game who had prominent characters, like had a lot of availability, and so could be playing like 6-7 hours a day. And while they were doing that, they were like having in-world consequence. This was not a campaign. This was like a site essentially with like
Okay.
and it just meant that like if you were not prepared to spend a certain number of hours every day playing or matching your real world calendar to the in-game calendar, then you might find that like you logged in, people were like, where have you been for 2 weeks? Like, you know, all this stuff happened and you weren't there and now people are dead or whatever. And it's just like, I don't need this. I don't need my real life to become distressed by my fake life. I just don't need it. That's the
MMO life is, oh God. Anyway, that's so funny. Not funny, disturbing, but in any case, yeah, exactly, Div. We trusted you.
Yeah.
And Patch Up, you're right. By internet, you mean AOR CompuServe. I also want to quickly highlight in chat that Garlic Tofu mentioned that in the 90s, she moderated the International Madonna mailing list. So that's a snapshot. So, hey, we all were doing things, let me tell you, in the mid 90s. But it is lovely to see all of these people here. Let's fire up the music. I don't really need to talk about what happened in the last session, because what happened was that the party, the Fellowship, thwarted the efforts of one Lord Gunvar and whoever it is that's behind Gunvar's rebellion, and Gunvar was attempting to basically do something terrible to the people of Erebor, obviously to bring great damage to the Lonely Mountain, to drive a greater rift between dwarves and men of the lake, and dwarves and Dale, dwarves of Erebor, and then in the Iron Hills, and then the men of Dale. And instead what ended up happening was he was thwarted and then was killed / taken out by someone before he could reveal more of his dastardly plot. And so, who is responsible? What dwarf assisted him and made it possible for this to occur? This is all stuff that we're going to find out. But we're going to fire up some garden music by Kevin MacLeod, because we are here for our... Oh my God. This sounds like a meditation. Because we are here to take deep breaths within the somnolent, the pleasant meadow. No,
I swear I
you
will
have
fall
to do
asleep
like
on you.
I know. I'm not
ASMR
gonna
voice.
I know I'm not going to do that. No, what we are doing today is we're going through our fellowship phase. I do want to just set a couple of things for chat in general. That is to say that I believe folks did you roll dice last time, or did that
Hit
for
points, yeah.
I did.
So that means Bolo should be 40.
No, I forgot
Oh.
to roll mine.
Yeah. It's on tape, sir.
Oh yeah, I totally didn't either.
So it's 46 out of 46. You're now super miserable. You're even more miserable now.
Yeah.
Okay, 46 out of 46 is what I have for you, Bolo. I have 52 out of 52 for Tani. I have 58 out of 58 for Inga. And
we're
I
healed?
have yes, because we're
We got a
in
long
fellowship
rest.
phase, so and we're 60.
The fellowship hasn't happened yet.
No, we're doing it right now. So because, to be clear, this stuff happened in the late autumn of 2958. The next section of what we're talking about is going to be mid-autumn of 2059. So you're going to have better part of a year during this fellowship phase, which is going to be good because I have a feeling people are going to need it, as we'll talk about. And River, I have you at 60 out of 60.
Yep.
I believe, and that is level 8 for this crew. So,
Tony is
And
now
wait,
27.
what's Stone at?
so Stone is at thank you for the reminder. 32 out of 32, and a point of shadow.
No!
So yes, I should also say Bolo has no shadow points but is miserable. Tani has 4 shadow points. Inga has 6 shadow points. The river has 5. Stone has 1. Lillimon has 0. Lillimon has not been affected by shadow thus far.
He can't be.
So what we do during our fellowship phase is the party gets a chance to not just level their characters, but to engage in actions which the the activity portion, the adventure portion of the game does not permit for. And normally they do this over the course of a number of months. I will run through some of what the party can expect to do if the party has if the individual character has no idea what they want to do during the fellowship phase. I certainly can put forth some suggestions, but I know that some of the party does have some things they're thinking about. For example, Bolo may need to address that whole being miserable thing. And so that might be one example. There is also, of course, the opportunity to remove shadow points, which is something the party may want to take advantage of, or they may want to consider other options in terms of story-based stuff, which we'll discuss. I will say that just to sort of like tie off the last bit of the last adventure, so far there has been no ability to gather information from Sigar, who is the dwarf who kind of leaped forward and took out Gunvar, and so they don't yet know what exactly the deal is with Gunvar, although dwarves have been trying to get that information. But there is one name that came up on multiple occasions who has been sent for by King Dane, and that is Niping, the famous smith of the Iron Hills, who apparently is none too pleased that the work of the dwarves has been, as he sees it, diluted by having that work, the techniques taught to others that are not dwarves, and also to have those goods sold to people who are not dwarves. And Niping has been sent for. I will say, because we're going to start this about a month after the fellowship phase begins, so basically, November-ish, let us say, late November, that Niping has not yet been found. When they sent for him, Niping is nowhere to be found as of yet. So there's that to kind of contend with. That said, I'm going to jump through the 4 people, and I'm going to start with Tren because I want Tren to tell me what Tani has done in his level ups, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you'd like to do in the fellowship phase. Hi, Big Boss. So, Tren, tell me about Tani and what are the new cool things you can do at level 8? You can heal everyone in Middle Earth just with one snap of your finger.
Basically,
you're the reverse Thanos, right?
As long as I spent, I think that's called Tony Stark. As long as I,
Cute.
As long as I spend a week, instead of 10 minutes, spend a week tending everybody, then everybody in Middle Earth will be healed for, let's see, it's 2d8 times 5 billion D. Plus 4.
I just had this image of you flying with eagles and just like dropping airlifting honey cakes on everybody. It's like in the Shire, just like, oh,
it's just a big bag of lavender I throw into Mount Doom, and it just
woo. Sauron's like, it's not worth it. I just no. But in all seriousness, tell us what the level up is going to bring to you.
Well, actually, I had so many options, not that many, that. For cultural virtues, we're like, here, you can take this spear or you can take this spear, and I'm like, those are both martial weapons and I have no proficiency with martial weapons, so
they're like, but
no.
Spear though.
I'm like, no, okay, so no. And so I looked at the open cultural virtues, the open virtues, and looking through them, I'm like, no, none of these really. I mean, the only one was like, what was it, dour handed? That was no, it was fell handed was the melee one, because Johnny doesn't have ranged attacks. And so I'm like, I'm really not supposed to be up front beating the crap out of things, so
not a good idea.
No. And so I'm like, okay, so I can either then go with the attribute increase. I'm like, I could bring any of my odd numbered skills up to an even to get an extra, bonus point.
Yep.
Nah, I'm just going to take my wisdom to 20.
What?
Wisdom to 20.
Wisdom is 20.
So
I have a
wise,
+5.
and which is as high as you can get with this, but
Yep.
without magical means of any kind. But so now you're just like, they come to you and you're like, oh hey, how you doing today, Tani? You're like, what do you mean? What did you explain to me?
We wanted to, I already know why you're here.
Wait, I've already anticipated your question that you'll ask me tomorrow. What? That's really funny.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Why this exactly, Big Boss? Why he's called Reverse Thanos and why Big Pharma hates him.
Exactly.
Big Pharma hates Tawny Bear the Healer. All right, listen, I mean, it may sound boring, but a 20 wisdom is nothing to sneeze at, okay?
Yeah. The other thing is that he wants to go back home for a little bit because he hasn't been back home in a while. And he's had neighbors who have been watching over his flocks and crops and bees and everything. But the whole thing about having neighbors take care of your pets and animals and stuff for more than a year is suddenly when you get back, they have no idea who you are anymore. Especially the sheep that have been born while you've been gone and have never known you. And they're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, so he wants to go home and tend his garden, tend his flock, tend his hives. But before he does, he goes to the river and well, everybody. And he's like, but specifically to the river, he says, if you go to Haven, give them all my best, but especially Ash. And then he makes his way west.
Aww.
Back to his home. And I do want to ask as we're...
Not all the way to the west.
Well,
No.
yeah.
We'll fade to the west. Oh, man.
I will
You gonna roll
diminish
the character?
and remain Tawny Bear.
Not before the sea.
Yeah. Is this the part? Yeah. So, okay. So Tani is going to head west. I'm actually, I will probably come back to that in a minute, although I do want to mention, well, yeah, I will come back to you. When we get to the Fellowship phase stuff, I'll talk about the impact of that. So good stuff. All right. 20 wisdom. Wow. Good stuff. Also, I should mention at level 9, Tani will gain the physician ability, which basically allows Tani to heal, I think it's blinded and deafened and like a bunch of other conditions. At a certain point, you'll be able to heal petrification, which is like, excuse me? But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty cool.
hammer.
Like, well, you know, because like one of the things I like about it is, you know, clerics obviously are the kind of healing equivalents that you get in D&D, but you seldom see them with this kind of focus that allows you to be like, no, I really can heal everything. Like at a certain point, I can almost heal everything.
It's just WD-40.
Another
no,
because it's a solvent. And yeah.
Right.
Anyway, but we'll come back to Tani in a little bit. All right, Bolo, let's talk next with you a little bit about what awesome things your treasure hunter has gained at the dizzying rise to level 8. You also had the opportunity for a character improvement or optionally a cultural or open virtue. So what are you thinking about?
Yeah, I didn't know much about them, but I looked at that Dower Hand is cool, but it actually doesn't help Bolo all that much because he's got a sling, which would be useful to have that skill for, but it's a D4 like -1, so it doesn't do much damage. It'd be a D4 +1 if I took that, which is not inconsiderable. But I figured, oh, and then the other one that's pretty cool, and I think I may do that next time, is the Hobbit cultural virtue of small folk, which lets me gain advantage with an opponent that's larger than me. So I can like effectively step into their square, and then while I'm in that square, I have advantage on attack rolls. And then if they until they choose to step back, in which case it'll provoke an opportunity attack. So it would actually generate more chances to attack them. But Bolo's not looking to get into more like physical close combat. So I think for the time being, I'm going to take Dex and Intelligence, which raises me to 20 and 14 respectively. And that'll get me a greater chance to hit my sneak attack on the Dex side, and on the Intelligence side, it's playing into being in the Hall of the Dwarves and learning more about Bilbo's history and that sort of thing, because intelligence feeds into history, investigation, and lore. So I want to play that up a bit too in the in the fellowship phase. That increase.
That's
So
gonna
that's what I'm doing.
Cool. That's good stuff, and I'm actually gonna that will tie in nicely to dealing with the miserable stuff, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So good. I look forward to seeing Bolo's extraordinarily dexterous and intelligent self rolled out here in our next portion. All right, that will move us right down along the line to Inga. And so I am most curious about what Inga is thinking about, what abilities Inga has at level 8. What dizzying heights Inga has risen to here. What do you got?
Oh yeah, she grew just a full head taller.
So she's now 4 feet. I'm just kidding. She was never that short. No, I'm just joking.
Hero dwarf.
You found some Ent drafts, or what was that called? The Ents?
Yes.
Entwash. No, I'm wrong. That's not. That's the river, but that's the bottom of it is called the Entwash. I guess it's just called Entraft, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway,
no, because of some book mixing shenanigans, I actually got 2 new feats. One of which is superior mobility, which raises my speed by 10 feet, which is awesome because as a dwarf, I already was slower than everybody else, not counting Bolo. So now I have 35 feet of movement instead of 25, which is nice. And the other thing is, did I not put it in my character sheet?
The other thing is,
damn it.
and I'm like, anticipation.
patient.
Yes. God damn it.
You didn't get it. Well, that's been a good level up.
Oh, poison resistance, of course. I got poison resistance. That was the other thing. Which for some reason I can't see anywhere in my character.
I have it
I
if you
written
so.
It down. No, it
it
gives me advantage on rolls on saves versus poison.
That you gain on poison resistance. You gain resistance to all poison damage as a level 8 wanderer,
which halves the damage.
So the other one gives me advantage.
Resilience gives you advantage. Resistance gives you damage protection.
Okay.
I do want to point out, I love the description of it, by the way. Your long exposure to the poisons and venoms of the creatures of the wilderness and the arrows of certain orcs have partially inured you to them, which is quite accurate. Like, how many times has Inga in this campaign been hit by various orcs of any kind of poisoned weaponry and all that stuff, right?
Now I know what my confusion was, because Dwarven Resilience gives me both advantage and house poison damage. So that's why I was like so confused in the first place about the stacking.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Let me find it. What page it was? It is on page 40. Should be 40.
Mm-hmm.
Dwarven Resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison.
Yeah, so this doesn't, unfortunately then, this doesn't really add anything additional, except that you have resistance and resilience both are really good. But you still get, of course, the character improvement, which is either this ability score thing we've been talking about or a virtue. So what do you...
Yeah, the thing is, I'm a bit undecided because we have a fellowship phase now, which usually leads to the possibility of gaining virtue, right?
That is one of the options, yes.
Yes. So if that's cool, I would like to wait with picking that until after the fellowship phase.
Okay, sure. Just remind me, just let me know when we've made our final call, when you've made your final call about that. Moving right on down the line, we have, of course, the river, and we need to see who this Woodsman of Roskabel has decided to do as she reaches level 8, the dizzying range of level 8.
Indeed. So I am pretty sure I want to go with the skill improvements. And I'm even pretty sure about where I want to put it. But I am looking at the kind of knock-on effects of it, and I was just trying to remember how, like, what is the modifier that affects the number of Warden's gift dice that I have?
Wisdom,
and I
I
couldn't
believe.
remember. So is it?
It's
I
either
don't
wisdom
think it
or
is.
no, it might be charisma.
I
Actually,
think it's
Let me check.
charisma. But I couldn't remember if it is the number of dice is equal to your charisma modifier, and that's what I was trying to look up just now, or if there was something else.
Yes, that's the number of times equal to your charisma modifier. I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
Okay, because I saw some language that it was like the number of your warden levels, and I was like, I don't even remember how.
No, it's no, it's the feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. You regain these expended uses after a long rest. Also, at 10th level, your gift die will increase from D8 to D10. By the way.
Yes.
But at the moment is still a D8.
Yeah. So yeah. So I was torn. So I'm always trying to make sure that, like, whatever decisions I make about character improvement are in some way in line with storytelling realities. And so, like, the last character improvement was a wisdom increase, and it was like after all of the, like, horrors of being trapped in "it's a dream," as Tawny's thing was. And it really felt like that made a lot of sense, like that just raising wisdom there made sense. In this case, I find myself thinking that what I want to... So the thing that I really would like to just have magically raised without needing to actually stuff is I would like to raise intelligence and strength. But tactically, that makes very little sense for now. And I'm comfortable with basically thinking of River as just like, this is her frame, this is how she uses it. She is a much more dex-oriented character than a strength-oriented character, and that's just how it is. Intelligence-wise, she is on the cusp, like she's got an 11, and I was like, well, you know, an improvement there plus something else elsewhere that could benefit things like investigation and various other stuff. But that actually feels logistically like it could have come out of the fact that they have just had one very long investigation series where they were trying to figure stuff out.
Absolutely. Could do that. I mean, and I will also say just about the strength thing, narratively, if you believe that the River has sort of, because remember, strength is going to directly impact things like athletics and stuff like that. If it's been the case for you that you're like, you know what, your dexterous quality are going to remain, and it's not going to affect you obviously as much in combat per se, but it will absolutely affect saving throws. It will absolutely affect checks like athletics, so that, you know, because there are times where you're not going to get the option of acrobatics or athletics. There are going to be times where athletics is where it's at. So, you know, it's not unreasonable to think that after going through what you've just been through with that previous session, with that previous adventure, that maybe, you know, you feel like for both intelligence, like investigation reasons, and because you're trying to build up your strength as something which you think is important to protect your people. And I mean, that's up to you. So it's not unreasonable.
It's just that in order for there to be a bonus, I would have to put it all in strength. Whereas if, like, my inclination to split it between intelligence and strength would only result in, like, the bonus on intelligence.
Also sets you up for character improvement at 12th, though, where you would then be able to improve both.
That's true. But having said all of that, I think that the thing that I haven't improved for her the whole time she has been a character is actually charisma. And I feel like that is something that makes more sense because I feel like one of the character fork moments that you had was like the devil's bargain that you offered in terms of...
Might do that again. That was fun.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
awesome.
I genuinely think that is going to haunt her a little bit, like that there was like a possibility that, especially in terms of like what could have been avoided if she had done that, if she had just like compromised herself, like could she actually have achieved something that meant fewer people being hurt or Bolo not being miserable or whatever. So I think that that's going to weigh on her a little bit, and as a consequence, I think that is where I want to put those points. So I'm going to increase her charisma to 16 from 14.
Awesome. And that makes complete sense to me. Also, I will, with enough charisma, Big Boss says, you can make people believe you have 20 wisdom. Maybe something Bolo will try down the line.
Unfortunately. Maybe. If only it worked on Shadow that way. It's like, I'm just going to gonna do it. My one question is, so this is part of the reason I was looking stuff up. I think I need to manually increase the number of wardens gift dice that I have.
Probably.
It didn't go up automatically.
Yeah,
so
probably. It's probably something which is, I have to try to find another person who's a brilliant coder to be able to manage those AME sheets. Yes, I would say that's reasonable. Okay, so good stuff. The party is gaining power, as you might expect, and that's good. That's what we like to see. All right, so now we get into the meat of the fellowship phase. Fellowship phase is an interesting, and I really like it. It's an interesting amalgam of. So on the one hand, kind of story-based kind of narrative in terms of what a character is doing, but there are also mechanical benefits that accrue and that are sometimes necessary between, for that and the next adventure. There are not always fellowship phases between sessions. Most of the time, there are fellowship phases between sections, but not always. And as I've been teasing to these folks, the next session, the actual adventure part they're going to be getting back into is called Do Dungeons Deep. So take that for what you will. But I want to talk a little bit here about fellowship phase options. I'm going to start with the specific ones, and then I'll move back to more generic ones here. Because there are a couple of specific ones that are related to particular areas that I want us to know about. So one of these, there's a couple of fellowship phases that I want to mention for two places, Dale and for Erebor. For Erebor, there are two ones that are possibilities, and I'm also willing to take pitches on other options, but one of them is visiting Thorin's tomb. I may have mentioned this before, but this basically means that you can pay a tribute to Thorin Oakenshield. So you go down to the Great Hall of Thrain, where you actually were recently, dealing with the stuff with Gunvar, and then to the side chamber that houses the Dwarf Lord's magnificent tomb, which has the Arkenstone and, of course, the elven blade of his sword, Orcrist. If you choose to do this and to visit the tomb and to sort of meditate on it, you can spend, in the adventuring phase following, you can spend inspiration and remember Thorin's noble death, and you can recover a number of hit dice equal to half your proficiency bonus rounded up. So that is, that is going to have a benefit insofar as your proficiency bonus now, I think, is 3 or 4. And so that would mean that you'd have roughly 2. I think it's 3, right? So round it up. So that means you'd have 2. So you would be able to recover 2 hit dice, not hit points, but hit dice. And so those hit dice obviously can then be rolled to get hit points back during short rests. So that is one option that's available to you. The other option that's available, and I want to throw this to Inga in particular because this may be of interest to you, is you can pay homage to the Ravens of Raven Hill. And that I'm thinking about that because of the stuff that happened with the mechanical thrush and all that business. If you spend a fellowship phase doing this and spending some time with the birds of Raven Hill, you can reinforce your existing bond. That would allow you to summon a raven as per the Ravens of the Mountain Virtue, which we talked about in our last adventure. May not be necessary because you did have, of course, this mechanical thrush situation. Although whether Thrun is going to let you permanently keep it, that's something we'll have to deal with. We'll have to talk about. But in any case, that's something to think about. Now, dwarves who already possess the Ravens of the Mountain Virtue can make this same fellowship phase decision to use it for this, but if they do that, then it means the raven can join the company, basically becomes a companion for the length of the following adventuring phase, which means that when the dwarf companion is fighting, the raven may be sent to harass a foe, causing it to have disadvantage on attack rolls for the duration of the battle. Which is pretty badass. But to get it, you have to get the Ravens of the Mountain Virtue and do this fellowship phase. So I'm just letting you know that is a thing that's out there. And this stuff turns my crank because I love the specific, to the particular area. So there's that. Those are the 2 fellowship options in Erebor. In Dale, the 2 fellowship options that exist are as follows. If I can find okay, here we go. So, commissioning a smith of Anvil Way. Now, you may have done this during one of the fellowship phases, actually, because to customize a weapon or purchase I think Bolo did that, right? And that was what the whole... Yeah, that's right. So they've got that as an option. There is the option of joining the King's Hunt. This basically means going with King Bard, who is, of course, was known originally simply as the bowman, and to this day he still likes to go out and engage in the hunt, and so you could actually accompany him. These are also vanishingly rare. He's only actually doing one this phase because of what's been going on at court, but you could accompany him. The mechanical benefit of that is that you would gain a deeper understanding of the wild surrounding Dale, and you would have advantage on skill checks if you serve as hunter during a journey that takes you through the northern Dale lands or the upper marches. And that is a permanent thing, so that means that you'll have advantage on those skill checks any time as a hunter you go through that journey. So it's a little specific because you have to be a hunter, choose the hunter role when you're taking that journey. And it's only when you go through the northern Dale lands or the upper marches in a journey, but it doesn't have to happen the next adventuring phase, if you see what I mean. It can be any time that an adventuring phase takes you through those areas. That's one option.
So, should be worth mentioning that I think those are already known lands for Inge.
Do you get advantage on that for hunting checks, though? Probably it's the same thing, I imagine.
Well, she's never the hunter. She's
that's true,
always
so
the
it doesn't
scout.
matter. Yeah, so then the answer to that would be, I would double check to make sure if known lands relates to this, Inga, but it's possible that wouldn't
She
benefit
has
you then.
The upper marches, the northern Daylands, the Iron Hills, and the East Anduin Vales.
Right, but just like
known
for
lands.
the known lands, we need to double check and see. While you're doing that, I will go on to mention that you can also offer counsel with King Bard as another fellowship phase, which means that the only ones who can do this are those with title of Thane, having a proficiency bonus of +4. Oh, actually, hang on a second. Do any of you have a plus? Everyone's got +3. Okay, so never mind. None of you can do that.
Wait,
Forget it.
plus what on what?
You'd have to have a proficiency bonus of +4. You don't have that yet. When you get it, though, that is something later on where you might be able to, I like that narratively, could offer counsel to King Bard later on. And the benefit of that means that you have advantage on introduction checks done with bardings for a year from that point. So anytime you meet anybody, immediately you get advantage on checks with bardings. Anyway. Okay. We also...
I found it, by the way.
You found it? What'd you get?
Yeah, so known lands gives me all fucking sorts of things. If any part of the journey passes through a land, the DC for your personal event tests are lowered by 2. If the entire journey passes through lands, and you act as a guide, you lower the peril rating of the journey by 2.
Okay.
You have advantage when making wisdom saving throws against corruption caused by blighted lands, You cannot become lost under normal circumstances. At least one place in each known land where you can safely take a long rest, which is incredibly useful in this system, might I add, because you cannot long rest on a journey
Not
otherwise.
easy.
A settlement where you have friends, blah, 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 blah. You have advantage on dexterity, stealth, ability checks, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. While tracking other creatures, you automatically learn their exact numbers, their sizes, and how recently they passed through the area.
Okay, so this does literally everything but help with hunting. So you could actually add to this, Inga, if you wish, and then be able to also get benefits as a hunter, but that would only apply if you were a hunter. And generally, as you say, you haven't been taking the hunter role. I think the one who's been taking the hunter role is probably Tani, right? So anyway, that's something to think about, Tani. That's if you were going to do that again. Okay, then we have one which I want to throw out Bolo's way. Which, although Bolo's got other issues, and I think we'll probably deal with this instead, but we'll talk about this. But one option, Bolo, is to stay at a tavern called the Missing Scale, and I'm going to tie this in with the Battered Mug in just a minute. So the Missing Scale is a tavern which is pretty well known, where there's local news from one street over, is exchanged for tales from distant lands. It's basically a place where rumors of every kind of description happen. So you can get this farmer who's just right outside the city, hanging out with a dwarven miner from the Iron Hills, or a Bjorning trader, or a wealthy merchant prince from Derwinion. It's sort of everyone comes there one way or the other. If you spend a fellowship phase in Dale and take this undertaking, you have to make a persuasion check. If you're successful, you win a rumor die, and if you succeed by 5 or more, you get 2 rumor dice, and if you happen to get a natural 20, you get 3. A rumor die is a d4 which can be added to any appropriate skill check: history, lore, riddle, shadow lore. So that can be added to those skill checks pretty much whenever you want. Once a rumor die is used, it is lost, but the rumor die will expire at the end of the adventuring phase. So I'm just letting you know that's an option. But Bolo, that may not be something you're interested in because you got your own issues to deal with. But I just wanted to throw that out there as something which seems to fit what Bolo might do in some context. So, and then the last one in Dale is to take apprenticeship with a dwarven smith. This is, you need to have a proficiency bonus of at least +3, so everyone here is good for that. You have to make a traditions check to convince a dwarven smith to take them on. If you do, you then have to pay 5 gold pieces. And when you do that, you can apply the lessons you learn to excel at the smith's arts, and from this point forward are considered proficient with smith's tools. If they were already proficient, they then double their proficiency bonus for checks made with smith tools during the next adventuring phase. So if you were already proficient, you could become, even more so in terms of your knowledge and apprenticing with a dwarven smith. So those are the Dale Fellowship phase offerings that we have. Then we have the generic stuff, or I should say generic, just the stuff that's always available, which is recovery. That is something which may, Bolo, be what you're interested in, because recovery is the thing that is going to be necessary to allow you to, it allows you to recover your exhaustion levels, all your hit dice and hit points are recovered, and most important for you, one condition is healed. There's going to be a narrative component of this, but if you want to recover from miserable quality, that's what's going to be necessary. So we've got that. We have training that's specific to cultural virtues. You could gain a new trait. Gaining a new trait means that you can change something fundamental about them. I believe River did this in one of our previous fellowship phases, sort of basically altering something fundamental about you based upon stuff that's happened and stuff which is to come. You can, of course, heal corruption. That's always a popular one, to get rid of some of the shadow points that you possess. You could attempt to meet a patron, and we could talk a little bit about options that are available there. You could open a sanctuary, although I don't know that there's anything at the moment, because I think you've already opened sanctuaries in the places that you want to, that you know at the moment. But, I could be convinced otherwise, so I guess you'd talk about that if need be.
Can we get one at the Withering Heath, like, at the Watchtower?
Oh my God.
No.
Can you imagine?
Sure, if you want to engage in bringing a small force to garrison, and that'll be fine.
Just open an inn there. Let's go.
No,
I'm sure.
we're buds with the dragon now, right?
What are you doing here? Would you mind if we stay here? No.
No, you don't mind?
You wouldn't mind?
That's great.
I don't do sarcasm. Shut up. That's what they would say. So, receive title. You can gain a title based on deeds performed. Now, the receiving title, we'll talk a little bit about the impact of that. And under what circumstances that would happen. I believe, actually, this is something that may have happened with Inga. I think you might have gotten this when the whole Haven thing and the clan chief thing occurred. So I think we've done this before.
Yes.
And then we have research lore, which Tani has done, which Tani did before. Yep, which allows you to consult stuff, and then I can basically makes it so that I can then answer 3 of your questions if you succeed at this check concerning a topic related to the skill used. And if the check fails, and I like this, the player hero still learns 3 things, but 1 or 2 of them proves to be false, cryptic, or misleading. So 1 of them will be true, but 2 of them won't. So these are is the Dwarven apprenticeship paid? Well, maybe, Big Boss. No
unpaid internships in Middle Earth.
It's like Dwarven student loans are catching up to me. He says that's funny. So anyway, so that's what you've got. These are the options that are available to you. I'm happy to go over any of those, but those are basically what we're looking at in terms of specifics and more general. So does anyone have any general questions? And then I'll run down one by one, and we'll deal with all of these.
I have a question for
please.
Bolo.
Oh yes, well, ask him.
Does Bolo have a home base? Like, is Bolo based in the Shire and is planning on going back to the Shire? Or, and part of the reason I'm asking is because I imagine that, in the aftermath of what happened with Bolo being miserable and stuff, that River would, offer to set him up in Haven. Which also, do you need to be in a sanctuary to heal corruption? I can't remember.
Misery or corruption?
Sorry. It probably doesn't affect misery. I'm just wondering if it affects shadow points in an unrelated context.
So he does not need to be. He does not need to be at a sanctuary to heal corruption. There's narrative different ways that corruption can be healed during that phase, which we'll deal with if we get there. But no, you don't have to be at a sanctuary.
And in terms of a base, so when he left the Shire, I think he had different conversations over the years with Bilbo, and he got this wanderlust from him, and so I think in his head he was sort of willing to let fate direct where he went, just like it did with Bilbo, and he didn't have a plan really for where he was going to go. He does plan to go back to the Shire at some point, just like Bilbo did, right? Mm-hmm. And the hope is that he will come back. The original hope, that hope is changing, but the original hope that he would come back with all these stories of adventure and have treasure, and that sort of thing. So
he does have a bag of gems now.
Oh,
we did all get a bag of gems worth 11
has begun. So since then, the battered mug happened, and then this whole misery thing happened, and so I don't know that he considers the battered mug like a permanent place, but certainly a semi-permanent place that he hopes to help revive not just it but the neighborhood type of thing, and leave Dale like a better place. But he's thinking now that he might want to do that other places too, and but then the misery angle is it's thrown all of that out of whack. Like it feels too big for him right at the moment. Mm-hmm. So anyway, no permanent base beyond the Shire, but that's like he's thinking years away kind of thing.
I had actually totally forgotten about the battered mug, and that totally makes sense that he would have like a room there or something. Yeah. But in fact, if it isn't,
does have a room there. We have been to it.
Yeah, well, we weren't staying in the inn there.
No. We were hanging out at his room to like.
Yes, that's true. Yes. So it's like, I mean, I'm not thinking of this now because I think that area is pretty well served with sanctuaries now. But it does feel like the battered mug could be a candidate for a sanctuary in a future place if you wanted to do that.
Yes, would agree.
Cool. So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
A very important question. Perhaps the most important question.
Wow. Okay.
Actually,
let me get geared up for it. Right.
The answer is
roll or something.
How does Stone cure Shadow? Does he have to make his own corruption roll? Does he have to do it on rivers?
His mistress will have to help him in making that possible, and I am happy to deal narratively with the two of you addressing corruption together if you choose to do that.
Okay.
Can I mention something real quick? Because I forgot to mention that during.
Is it your cat? Because I think you've now mentioned it.
Yeah, she's turned 2 years old yesterday.
Wow, really?
What?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow. She's so lanky and cute.
Happy birthday, Lorelai.
Devin is curled up. I wonder if you can see him. There he is. He's just a little heap.
Oh yeah.
The curled up heap in the corner. Oh, he's just opened his eyes and is staring balefully, and you can't actually tell.
You're speaking about me.
Yeah. Cool.
So yes, that's what I would say to that.
I have again 3 things I'm tossing about it, like in terms of thinking of how to do it. So, yeah. And they're intersecting narratively in the sense that I really like. So this is gonna be like a full year, right?
Yes.
I cannot imagine River staying in one place for a full year. So I imagine that she would spend like a portion of time with Ash in Haven, a portion of time visiting her family in Rosgobel, mm-hmm. and a portion of time visiting Tawny probably, and stuff. So like I sort of see it in kind of like, 3-4 month chunks or something like that, roughly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And because of that, I'm having difficulty choosing between like what is the core thing, because there is the things that I'm trying to decide between are healing corruption, which is very much front of mind because Stone. Even though he's not like in mechanical danger, it's just extremely upsetting to me that Stone can even get shadow points.
Listen, you want Stone to be an effective ally, and he is.
Yes.
He's going to be on the front lines. That's the way
I
this
know.
works.
Sure.
Speak
So
to
anyway.
Littlemon about that.
What I mean by mechanically is that I think he actually has the same wisdom that I do. No, not quite.
Actually,
no, he's
no, I'm
got
not sure
12.
that's true.
That's true. It's 12.
Okay.
But anyway, so there's that. So healing corruption is one option. The other two things are, I think you can use the fellowship phase to gain a virtue, right? And I was thinking of fell-handed for River as something
Okay.
that I think would make sense if she spent a season training specifically to be more effective with her axes. But the third thing is using one of the like item improvement options to raise her AC.
Okay.
And that is something I'm pondering as well in terms of like, just because they have been dealing with the dwarves so much over the last adventure, that I find myself wondering whether like her armor is already special. It's already a item of cultural significance, the feathered armor that Radagast has blessed and stuff.
Yep.
So, which I'm just gonna say out loud so that somebody else besides me remembers it, because I always forget. Does grant advantage on stealth checks in forests, which I don't think I've ever made use of. But anyway,
Probably not. Yeah.
We haven't been stealthing through forests.
we haven't been stealthing through forests
If I
particularly.
did the Mirkwood campaign, it would have been a lot more of that, but we
Yeah.
went in a different direction. But
So there's so the thought of like some runic inscription or any kind of like clever armor improvement thing is very appealing, but I don't know like what is in the offing there in terms of improvement either, because I've never gone down either of those paths before. So
okay. Well, one thing I also want to mention in the... Give me just a second so I can pull this up. So under cultural virtue, right. So you have right now you have the Hound of Mirkwood.
yes, that
Okay.
is stone.
Right. So the thing I wanted to mention is another thing that could be done, and if you want, I will give this as an option to also trade his shadow, would be to train a train Stone to be further effective with you. Now, I think you may have done this once. So like right now he can be trained. So right now he
attacks without the command.
Right. So you could also train him to dash or disengage or dodge or help, or could be trained to support you when making one of the following ability checks: intimidation, investigation, or perception. So you could also do that. And that would be something which would not only increase your bond with him and make him even more effective, but would also, I think, depending on how we do it narratively, address the shadow issue. So I do want to throw that out there as an option, because
like that a
that is something which might fit both of you.
I think he, just FYI, I think he already has one of those 3 support roles. I think he comes with one natively.
That's probably right. Yeah, but these are other options that can be
Yeah,
added
these are
onto
other
that.
options.
Yeah, because you're always asking if he can help with your perception rolls.
Yeah, so I think he has
He does that
investigation.
already. But
Yeah.
investigation, for instance...
That is the... I thought that was the one that
Well,
I
I
had.
have perception or investigation, so it's one of the two. I think it's investigation, maybe not perception. So I don't think you have both. I think he either has investigation or perception. I don't think he has both.
I think the part that I think I'd been using was when you make ability checks using one of your hound's trained skills, you gain advantage and count as proficient in the skill, even if you are not. So I think that it was always... Oh yeah, I'm not sure. I'm actually really not sure.
I feel like it
was
was supposed to be investigation because you did that quite a bit. We talked about the idea of him sniffing along and doing all
sniffing.
that
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
But you could train him as well to add into that perception, which is obviously
Right.
perception happens a lot. So you could do that. Or again, during a fight, he's able to attack, but being able to help, which means assisting someone else, or being able to dodge if you're really worried about him, or being able to dash, like to double. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you could you could use. So that's anyway.
That is a really good point. Can I ask, how does I've never totally understood this. How does dodge work in battle? Do you have to just like hold that as your action before?
Yeah, dodge is an action which takes up your full. It's basically what you do instead of your attack. And actually, Tani was using it in the last fight. So what it means is basically you then get everyone else attacking you as disadvantage to hit you, essentially, because you're doing everything you can to like not get hit. And it takes your entire action to do that because you're all in on not being hit.
Right.
Yes, Aaron, he is a wise dog, given what he's been through.
He really is. That's true. Okay, cool. I will think on that. Well, like I don't want to occupy this too much.
And actually, how many years in game have we been on? I feel like in game years we're what?
I have that written down somewhere.
Probably 5 or 6.
Not 6, surely not.
No,
6.
that is
maybe not that long. Maybe not. No. Maybe it's 5.
Three
Okay.
or 4.
Maybe it's
I think
4.
it's 3 or 4.
Maybe it's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually the fellowship phase
last
wasn't that long.
year, the
No, go
last
ahead.
year I've written down is 2,958.
Right. Okay. So this is going to be 29.59. Okay. So that means that we're looking at, so it'll be about 4.5 years. So I just mentioned that because it means Stone is now 5.5 somewhere, right? Like, I mean, you had him when we started. He was probably about a year old, I guess, or 2 years, maybe.
Year or 2 years. Yeah.
So maybe 5 or 6 now, Stone. So,
Also, did you know that Hounds of Mirkwood live to be 80?
Really? Is that
Yep.
true? Or even I'm going to look down at that. 80
That's
in
all
human
bullshit.
years.
80 in normal years of reckoning.
Yes.
They just, they,
I like
that's how it works.
I like
They
how you couldn't even
definitely-
finish that sentence without just like, do you know that Stone lives forever? Because he lives forever. Did you know that?
It's true. They just do. I mean, if the game time is going this quickly, I cannot have like a Stone is like a 12 to 16 year
Okay.
lifespan. That
Grizzled
doesn't work.
veteran at
Listen,
the end of it.
like,
Little gray in the
There is
muzzle.
there is some like Radagast woodland magic shenanigans going on there, so it's absolutely plausible that the Hounds of Mirkwood live longer.
I have
than the
enormous
average dog.
admiration, as you all know, for dogs, and my wife currently is getting allergy shots so that we'll be able to have one again. But all of that said, he is not, in fact, one of the Valar. He is not going to be one of,
No.
Gandalf's people, and will not, or any other such immortal creature. He's not an elf dog. So I'm
People
just
watching
telling you.
Arf Hates Dogs, you heard it here first.
That is a bit. You have disadvantage on everything forever. All right.
Worth
What
it.
I think happens. This is a gray area. This is my
Gray muzzle
canonical
area.
interpretation. My canonical interpretation here is that Stone, the bond between Hound of Mirkwood and Rosgobellion is so strong that they share a certain life force connection, such that as long as River is growing older, then Stone will just also do that with. Yes, and not, but he won't die when she dies. He will just have a normal dog lifespan afterwards.
Oh, afterwards. Afterwards is when it all kicks in, right?
Yeah. It's just like he won't crumble to dust, but he could be like, he could just that, like, that's his person has died, his pack has died, and like, he just enjoys a retirement.
This is fascinating
go
and
into
not
the
going to
West
happen.
together.
Couldn't Stone spend a fellowship phase to have some baby stones?
Wow.
Pebble puppies.
Find
Pebbles!
to find a houndette of Mirkwood, as it were, and see what we have. I see.
Oh.
Does the hound connection mean that Dogecoin is canon in this universe? What is going on here? No, like, dogs do not
There
live
are
forever
no
in this
canons.
world, and no Dogecoin does not exist in Professor Tolkien's honored universe.
Riverbank.
there are no
That's
cannons
so good.
either.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
go to I'm sorry, I'm just catching up to the chat. Just go to a riverbank and make a withdrawal. That's absolutely amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yep. It's true.
Aww.
So anyway,
I'm gonna look up now if I can find anything about the
Physiology.
lifespan.
let the river have her dog. She already has her dog. This is not an issue right now. We're just talking about, is he ever going to age? And the answer to that is yes. Is the ansher to that.
I mean, Tawny's 27 now.
27.
Wait, what? Isn't he much older than that?
No, he just turned 27.
What?
When
I thought
Arv
he was
said no, when Arv, we covered this the last time I increased his age.
God!
From 25 to 26.
Yep.
Okay, well, when we started, River was 20. So what? How old was Tawny when we started?
You're asking me to math.
I thought Tawny was in his 30s.
Patient.
He's got such a deep voice and such a stentorian disposition. I just thought that for sure he was a more venerable
have you,
man.
have
No,
you
it's just
seen-
lung cancer.
Have you
Look
seen?
at the drawing of him. Look at your chest.
Have you seen? Look at your man. Now look back at me.
Look at that.
Have you seen Tazon Day when he's singing Chocolate Rain? That skinny little beanpole has got a voice deeper than mine. All right.
Yeah.
Just, oh man.
Sure, but look at the man on your chest right now.
The man on my chest.
The man on your chest.
All right, I'm seizing
Thank
control
you.
of this
Thank
wagon.
you.
I'm
Thank you.
going to
Thank
turn
you.
this cart around. All right, I'm going to go back to. I'm going to go back, and I love that chat's like, let the river have a dog. I'm like, I did. Big Boss is like, no, let her have it forever. And I'm like, oh boy, I forgot. See, this is why you never, ever, ever harm an animal in anything you ever write, because people will never forgive you ever. And so that's what it is. Like you can you can destroy countries, cities, fine, but if you hurt a dog or a cat, woe
John
betide
Wick is
you.
coming for you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. All right, Tren, let's start with Tawny on the fellowship phase. So Tawny is returning home, but what exactly mechanically, and then I'm going to tie that in narratively to what we're doing. What mechanically is Tawny doing for the fellowship phase then? So
Before he leaves Dale, he stops in and checks on the queen, make sure she's doing all right, checks in with the other healers, lets them know where he's going, and then he heads off back home.
One quick note, Tawny. You do not, when you check in on those things, you do not find King Bard. He is away.
Yeah, I don't care.
Which is, well, it's odd, though, that he's not there.
Yeah, but he's a jerk. So,
Bard?
He was David Bowman. Anyway, no, probably David Bard. Well, no, but he's his focus was seeing the queen. She was the one who was
and she's pretty much as she was. Okay, so
which is probably the only reason he left to go on his precious.
Could well be. Well,
yeah, he's not gonna get out of this house. So yeah, he gets back home and thanks his neighbor for watching over things and starts spending time, because his neighbor's not that good at gardening. I mean, he's good at gardening. He's just not that good at plucking weeds because he doesn't recognize which ones are weeds and which, this is a tomato plant. Would you please stop? They're poisonous. No, they're in the nightshade family, but they are not. Just leave my tomatoes alone. And so he's, spending a lot of time working in his garden, tending his sheep, especially the new ones, and getting them familiar with the fact that he is their daddy, not that other guy. And his bees. He loves his bees because this is the first time he's had access to his honey for making his honey cakes in a long while.
Okay. So okay, I got all of that. But
I hope so.
In terms of but in terms of like but as far as the fellowship phase mechanical thing, I just want to know that I'm clear about that. Mechanically, what was the fellowship phase part that you're doing? Did I miss that?
I don't know. I don't know. Did you miss it or not? I can't tell you.
I think I may have.
I don't think I actually mentioned anything in there, but since gaining a new trait is one of the things, or a new doohickey,
Yep.
thing, and people are going to kill me if I don't do this. He will take Night Goer so he can turn into a bear.
Yes.
Yay.
Everyone's-
That only works at night. And if we're going to be under a freaking mountain, we're never going to know when it's night.
Day goer?
And it's always
Afternoon
night.
goer?
Yeah,
It's
you're right.
always
But it's
night.
always effective. You can do it anytime.
If I increase
Well,
my
what
shadow
is,
points, is it night? Is it night now?
Well, I mean, what is like the actual like definition of night in that sense? Like, if it's
Whomst
just
among us can say they know what night is, honestly?
Yeah.
Tisn't the absence of sun.
what if one of us gets knighted, and then he can always do that?
But only on that day.
You are denied.
I just love how reluctant like Tren is about why this reluctance? Don't
Because he
you
prefers
don't you
wolves over bears. That's a problem.
Oh, I mean,
Tread carefully.
because the other virtue I was going to take was it was also a nighttime thing, and I don't.
What if you fight Nightping, and then he can like, we just keep him around all the time? And
I
it's
don't
always-
think that.
It's not night ping. What is he talking
We just had to make him change his name
Night
to
ping.
Nighting, and then we'll just raise him like a little umbrella. And whenever we are beneath Nighting, then it will be night.
That's funny, Big Boss. If only we had a 20 wisdom guy in our crew to tell us if it's nighttime. We're like, it's nighttime. It is night. I sense right now that it is night.
Smells like night.
Okay, but all jokes aside, wouldn't like dwarves maybe like have like a natural sense for like telling the time when they're underground?
I would think so.
Why would
Like, I
they
don't know
need
if that's
to?
actually a thing in Middle Earth lore. So
Yeah, so you already did the twice baked honey cake. So you're doing night
just ignoring me.
night going.
Night Goer.
But what was the other one you were considering?
I'm trying to find it again.
Okay.
Huh. Beorning cultural virtues.
Brothers to bears.
Brothers to bears, yeah.
Ah.
Does that mean you get to like summon bears?
No. When the moon is high in the sky and the world is fully revealed in its argentine glow, no sound escapes your ears as the night speaks to you in the language of the wild.
Wild.
That's very cool.
That's the
Night Goer is definitely cooler.
and-
Yeah.
But that's very cool.
You
And
get
the
to
other
be
thing
a motherfucking bear. Just saying.
And it was the other one was great strength, which he's not
Like, if you want to hear nature, just have Tony smoke weed. You know, it's fine. You don't need to
he's
get
got plenty.
Except for his neighbor keeps uprooting them for some reason. It's like, isn't this a weed? No, it
No,
is
I said
weed.
that wasn't.
A weed
It
is
is a
just a
weed, but
plant.
it's not weed.
There's an indefinite article.
He comes back into the Bjorning land, and there's all these billboards that are like cannabis available at. You're like, God damn it, what has gone on with this place? And
He's like, no, weed is just a plant that is not where it's supposed to be. And then he goes over to his neighbor's house, and all of his tomatoes have been moved over there. And it's like, you haven't been taking the plants.
Bad neighbor. Dislike this neighbor. Oh, this is like the Lobelia Sackville Baggins of Bjornings.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Like, instead of stealing your silver spoons, she's stealing your heirloom tomatoes. It's
Yeah.
like awful.
And your weed.
And your weed. Rude, man. So rude.
The other one was skin coat, and I was like, I don't need to take that either. So
Right.
What
because then
does
I'd
that
have to
do?
give up. Well, basically, I'd have increased armor class as when I'm not wearing armor. I am not giving up my dwarven armor.
yeah.
I am immune to criticals. Hell no, I'm not getting rid of that.
Nice.
Yep. So okay. All
In
right.
2E, you just needed a regular helmet for that.
So you're doing the night goer thing. Okay. So I wanna yeah. So let me start there actually, and then I'm gonna come to Bolo next. So Tani, when you one night after you're home, probably it's been a couple of weeks, you've successfully transplanted back the heirloom tomatoes to where they belong. which is in a pit because I hate tomatoes. But anyway, no, I'm not.
Why,
I'm not a
I'm
tomato
eating them
fan.
and you're not.
I know, it's fine. Tomatoes and raisins, I'm not a fan. Now, if we're talking like carrots, broccoli, and
Oh,
I'm down.
no.
I'm down for any of that.
Take 5 points of psychic damage.
Psychic damage. Okay, so one night after you have managed to start restoring order, your sheep now recognize you and are sort of like no longer shy away from you. Bad man, and all that. And it's late in the evening, and it is on a moonlit night, actually. And as you are lying in your bed after a long and very, long day outside tending things, and very peaceful, may I just say, like very nice to be kind of back home. Also very peaceful to, take your well-meaning neighbor and be like, thanks, but, I'll take over now. Outside your window, you hear something, and I'd like you to make a perception check for me, please.
It's perception for excitement.
Okay. So, 18. So, you hear what sounds like a snuffling at the window.
Douglas, go back to your barn.
You hear the same snuffling. And you hear occasionally like something pawing below your window.
A bit late for trimming the verge.
Cute. And this continues.
We'll go and peek out the window and see if you can see what it is.
So when you peek out the window and you look out and down, I'm assuming your home is on one floor, I would assume, like not multi-story. But when you look...
It's 70 story. It's like the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, it's the Bjorning Tower of the Gods.
The Burj Khalifa.
Oh!
Oh,
Cute.
That hurt.
Cute. It's nice. When you look out and down, you don't see anything below the window. But then you hear like right in your left ear. And as you turn over, turn into the left slowly, you see an enormous head of a bear that is just facing you straight on. And you have obviously been, seen bears and been around, but quite obviously given your own heritage as well. But you've never actually been, and this is clearly not a Bjorning. This is not Bjorn in bear form or anything else. This is just a regular bear, but it's very, very large, and it seems to shimmer slightly in the moonlight. And as you're sort of staring at it, the bear kind of brings its brown, solemn eyes, enormous, sort of close to yours, and then it turns and it pads away, and it stops at maybe 10 feet away and then looks over its shoulder at you.
And I would like to take this moment to thank Live Suing for the Bugs Bunny reference. Kitten.
Yeah, so imagine that cat was 10 times its size, and you
Only 10?
and imagine it was a bear.
Okay.
Although Lorelai's like, I could be a bear. You don't know.
No, she just wants to eat the microphone.
Okay.
Oh, that's what she's pawing at. Okay.
And at my face, but
yeah, okay.
mainly the microphone.
Right. So Tawny's just like, all right, and just proceeds to follow.
Okay. Do you take anything with you, or just like your clothes that you're in? And that's it.
Trying to forget, is he all done up like Scrooge right now? No, he wasn't. He was getting ready for bed, but he wasn't.
Okay.
He's still dressed. So, but he did take his boots off, so he doesn't have his boots on. So he's barefoot.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that works actually. So you follow the bear, which pads silently through your fields, through the bee fields, and actually as you pad along behind him, behind him, you can see that The sheep are just slumbering in their paddock. They're not, they don't react to the passing of either of you, actually. And you pass through, still following him, and you note as you go, Tani, that just on the path behind, there's the ever slightest inkling of some kind of shimmering light as you pass along, almost fading as you get to it. And he leads you up and over several small hills, seems to be heading in the direction of the Anduin, at least somewhat slowly. And then eventually brings you up and over to this empty field, which has obviously, wooded grass. I would say this is probably happening in the, let us say, early summer. And so the grass is pretty high. It's green. There has been, there's some areas of brown. There was kind of a little bit of a lack of rain here, although that started to change over the last couple of weeks, which has been nice. But for a while, it was a little bit dry. So there's a combination of green and brown grass that rustles slightly in the wind. And the bear sort of pads all the way into the center of this fairly large area and then turns and looks at you as you were sort of walking up. And it seems to be waiting for you to come up to it or to do something, but it just sort of regards you silently.
He walks up to about the same distance they were at the window. Not quite, snuffling in his ear, but close.
Okay. So you do that, and then it looks at you, and then it stands up. Now, anyone who has ever seen a bear on hind legs will know that bears are way taller than you think. They're longer / taller and are intimidating presences. And it calls this massive growl that resonates and rumbles. And it just sort of echoes, and you're standing in front of it. And then you're aware, Tani, of this presence of everywhere around the field. And as you look around, bear after bear after bear, all shimmering in the same way, pad in to the field, so that at one point you are surrounded. There must be 20 of these that are now standing in a huge circle around you. And they come up, and then they all stand on their hind legs and all make that same kind of growling effect. Yes. And it echoes out, and over the entire land you can again hear it, and it's almost painful, Tani, like the resonance of it, because you feel it in your feet and your legs and your body, right? It rumbles with this sort of bass note of the bear's growl and their roar, and as it sort of echoes, you feel your body kind of tingling and almost with electric energy. You see the hair on your arm stands up a little bit. And this resonates, and the roar continues for what seems an eternity, although it probably was only about 10 to 15 seconds. And then they all silently drop onto hind legs, and they crowd in. They come in upon you so that they're very, very close. And you're just standing there among them as they are all now on their, forelegs, and are all staring up at you.
I don't have a rolled up newspaper, so. Recently on the internet, there's been a meme going around where there's like a bear who's robbing somebody, and he's like, "Put your hands up!" And the guy puts his hands up, and the bear's like, "How'd you get so big?"
That's funny.
Just like, oh my God. So, I guess Tawny's gonna. See, now I want to throw a narrative piece in as well myself, but
throw it, man. Bolo and Inga and River up for their narrative pieces next.
Well, what I was going to say is that at some point while he's been following this bear, he would turn around and look behind him and see the bear's footprints and his footprints. And then over the course of the travel to the thing that, the single plantigrade set start to, kind of elongate, and he realizes that his footprints are not particularly humanoid anymore.
Good.
And
Quite
so
I agree.
when he's there in this circle of bears, which been there before, and I mean, back when I was married to a bear, live suing knew him very well. He used to come over and hang out with us all the time. So yeah, I know bears. Anyway, so the God, Lorelei is so cute right now.
I know, right?
It's so distracting.
It's really distracting.
I mean, I can't turn the camera back up.
No,
if
it's
you
not.
want.
No, please.
No, keep it.
Please
Just keep
continue
petting
to-
that Tom. Just
Yeah.
keep
The
belly.
me.
Aw.
Yeah.
Proof positive that she's not actually a cat, because cats hate that. Anyway.
No. I got her to like it.
Both
Oh,
my
good.
cats love
She
it,
wants to
actually.
leave now.
Yeah.
She's like, stop talking about me. Stop talking about me.
I feel like I've gained inspiration from that.
You haven't. Sorry, I'm not the DM. It's your call. Anyway, so
You're right.
so having seen the change in the footprints and now standing in this circle, when in a circle of bears, do as bears do, and so he just throws his head back and roars as they did.
Mm-hmm. So you roar and they do not join in. They just watch. And then they all turn, but you notice something unusual, Tani, in that as they do this, every one of them, as they turn, brushes against you, like your shoulder or your side or something like that. They don't put a paw on your shoulder or something human. They just yeah, exactly. They just brush you, and then gradually, one by one, and eventually the only one that's left is the original bear that you first saw. And the shimmering quality of the bear seems to glow and increase and brighten. And it becomes almost painfully bright. And at one point, you have to kind of shield your eyes with what you notice now is indeed a furry paw instead of a hand. And then you wake in your own bed to find the moon shining in your eyes now overhead, and to find yourself, one might say, inexorably changed by whatever this was. A dream, a vision, a reality? We will find out. While this is happening, halfway across Middle Earth, as they say, Bolo, you now are, so we've now contemplated a little bit, I think, about what we're going to do. So what is your fellowship phase plan? Just remind us all again, the fellowship phase plan for you.
Yeah, so I want to pull a number of things together, I think. So there is, I'm going to quote in the little chat thing, my Seeker of the Lost Ely.
Yep.
And then in addition to that, I have this treasure lore thing, which I haven't had a chance to use yet on the adventures that we've been on.
Yep.
And then the misery, that I have.
Yes.
So I'm sticking around the Lonely Mountain
Okay.
for a bit, and I'll do that one that you mentioned, visiting Thorin's grave, his tomb.
Okay.
And so I'm going to throw this slightly to you. I'm not trying to get rid of the misery, but it's like the previous adventure kind of affected me. I'm sort of trying to figure out what my next steps are,
Yep.
reevaluating my
Yep.
my priorities, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Because everything has felt big, but like the misery struck me so much that like it feels too big right
Yeah.
at this moment.
Yeah.
And so like the original conversation that I had with Bilbo, and we haven't ever touched on this, so it can change slightly if you want. And so one of my thoughts was it could relate to the adventure we're about to have.
Mm-hmm.
I could be on a treasure hunt for something related to that adventure, and that could also be the very thing that you had mentioned initially. But I don't want to hold us to that because, we it's not canon yet. We haven't actually done
Exactly.
it.
We're making the canon as we speak.
So adjust as you see fit. But the basic idea is that he'll go. He was struck by Smaug's lair greatly,
Mm-hmm.
and like sort of imagining what Bilbo went through and stuff,
Yeah.
and so he's changing and he's not sure where that change is headed just yet. But of course, he's reminded of his conversations with Bilbo, and so he does go to the tomb and sort of just he reflects. He thinks about what Bilbo went through, what Thorin went through, what their adventure triggered, and how the land was changed greatly because of that. And so he, then he remembers the conversation with Bilbo, and he's starting to think, well, I wonder if that will have the same effect, kind of thing, or if my other adventures will have the same result, kind of thing. And it's almost, it's not fate precisely. It almost feels like he wants to start making his fate, to a degree, and using it in a way to make sure the world is a better place for me having had this adventure.
Okay. I like that. So, okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of a narrative piece here with you, and then I'm going to make you another one of these devil's bargains that I'm falling in love with, and relating to this tying in with your misery. But we'll talk about that in a second. So, as you were there, sorry, go ahead.
Before you jump in,
yeah.
So this is part A, and I don't know that this relates at all. Part A and part B, but just so you know.
Okay, sure.
So my general plan right now is to do this, to spend time here to think,
yep,
and maybe make some plans. And then I'm going to head back to Dale and make sure the battered mug is sort of not just set up, but I'm going to start thinking about that girl that I met. I'm forgetting her name. Along the riverfront.
Oh yes, yeah. Because I was thinking a minute about Brindle, but not Brindle.
Sort of the waif of a girl who lost her mother.
Yes. Yep.
Mug.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I want to use my time, effectively the rest of my time, making the battered mug a place where people can come. And this is pre-Haven. I think I'm going to start working towards that, and probably like the next fellowship phase or something like that. I might officially do that, like make it a haven. But I want it to be known that people like that girl have a place that they can come or shelter, to stay away from the people that would use them in the city, that sort of thing. And it's going to start small at first, but build.
Okay, so that's going to grow it out. Okay, I like that. Yeah, the kid that you found in the boat, that was there. Okay, yep. All right. Cool. All right. Well, let's start with what you find, because you first go to Thorin, to the Thorin's tomb, right? Yep. So when you were there, and I would say you probably spend kind of a couple of days kind of going and thinking about it and coming and then going back. Obviously you're welcome to stay within the Lonely Mountain. That's fine. And you're doing this, Bolo, there's kind of a risk that you're engaged in doing this, because since you are still underground, and since you are still underground in this place, which is what led to this sense of misery when you crossed the abyss and everything. I mean, it wasn't here, but it was, elsewhere in the Lonely Mountain. There is this sort of dread that continues to creep over you. But you're doing that in an odd way. That sort of dread is also kind of centering you, right? And focusing you on what it is that Thorin did, and again, how Bilbo would have felt coming down here, because Bolo himself, as he told you in his stories, fought the greatest battle of his life in the tunnel before he ever arrived in the treasure chamber to see Smaug himself. It was the battle of the unknown, about what do I do when I get down here, that was the biggest thing for him. And as you are watching, sort of looking at the tomb, I would say on the second day of doing this and kind of thinking about all of that, you hear a voice behind you, and he says, "So, what do you think of the tomb of Thorin Oakenshield?"
I turn to see who's speaking.
And I
suspect I recognize the voice.
It is Balin, yeah. And he is looking at you with eyes shining in the dark.
I say it's very affecting. It's humbling. It makes me feel small, but at the same time, I feel like individuals can have great impact on others, which can multiply. It can help.
And he nods slowly, and he goes forward, like next to you, basically to to your side, and looks at the tomb and says, "That is true. I have been down here many times, countless times, perhaps, looking at Thorin's tomb. The individuals you spoke of," and he turns to you and says, "one such as you was more important than any of them, at least to the success of our quest when I was involved. Did you speak to Bilbo much about this adventure?"
Some. He told me some of the tales that most heard. He told me a bit more about what it was like to adventure, and I will admit I think I heard what I wanted to hear when he told those stories. I think I saw the adventure.
What did you want to hear? He interrupts. He says, "What did you want to hear exactly?"
I think I wanted the world to be a place of adventure and constant excitement and glory and riches. That's what I heard.
And how have you found it to be?
Well, I found those to be not fool's gold precisely. They exist. But those are like shiny jewels where what really matters is what lies beneath and what binds people together. It isn't the treasure. It's the connections that people make, the communities that are formed. That's what matters. That's what I'm seeing.
Balin nods, and he looks at the Arkenstone, which even now, of course, glitters and glows brilliantly, even in this place. And he says, "Thorin, put such stock in this gem. So much of who he was came to this Arkenstone. And yet in the end, what mattered was not this gem, but what lies beneath it." And he turns to you. "In this case, his broken body, which he sacrificed to defend his people and those of Middle-earth from the goblins and the wargs. I don't know if Thorin ever really understood fully until it was too late what exactly mattered most, but he did learn it in the end. Someday, not long from now, I hope to descend into such a dark place myself, and to restore it to its former glory. And perhaps someday, Moria will be for me what the Lonely Mountain is for Thorin's people. But until then, go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
May it be so."
He nods, he says, "I hope it will. But in the meantime, we remain here. Bolo, you haven't been yourself, I've noticed, since what happened a month ago or so. When I first met you, you seemed lighter."
Yes, it's true. When we came down into the mountain, I will admit that a heaviness fell upon me, and it hasn't lifted. I thought the world was going to be easy to conquer, and it hasn't been. And now I understand why. There's much in the world, much evil, and it's hard. It's hard fighting it. It feels too big.
He goes forward and he kind of looks at you intensely, and he says, "My experience was that when one fears something, when one senses a darkness, the only way to deal with it is to go further within it to confront it, to see that it is not what it purports to be, darkness and shadow. If you wish, Bolo, you can accompany me to the deepest places I know below Erebor. There you will confront your fears. I cannot say that you will feel better, but perhaps you will have an understanding of why you feel as you do. An understanding which Thorin, and he looks back at the tomb, did not have until it was too late for him. It is your decision to make, but you may accompany me if you wish. Now here's this devil's bargain that I was telling you about. If you agree to accompany Balin to this deepest, darkest place that we're talking about, the impact is going to be as follows. This means that your miserable condition will be modified, in that you will then be miserable when in deep underground places. Not like walking into a building, that's fine, but like deep underground places. You will have this miserable condition. So this will be a somewhat permanent thing. However, when not in those deep places, when in the outside or in a comfortable little home or basement, which is just a little bit under the ground, let us say, in those moments, you will have advantage to checks against corruption. So in other words, you will have advantage to save against shadow, but in exchange for that, you will be miserable when in the deep places of the world. This is essentially mechanically what Balin is offering you.
Okay. And if I decline,
then the ultimate no. If you decline, then what it means is that your shadow situation will just remain as it is. So like, you'll just deal with the normal shadow as it is. Your miserable condition may be more temporary. You're still going to need to actually recover it somehow by going somewhere to recover it, or doing that in a fellowship phase or whatever. But the miserable thing is only going to exist for you underground regardless. So in the phase to come, for example, when you're underground, you'll be miserable. When you're outside of it, you won't be, again, until you take some action to recover from it, but it won't be a permanent thing. But you also won't get this benefit against corruption.
Yeah, okay. I think narratively it works well because this... Well, okay.
Can I just ask you to clarify, Arv? Sorry, what are the actions that someone can take to recover from miserable?
It's literally called, so the Fellowship Phase 1 is literally called Recovery, which is where you can remove a condition, including being miserable. There are also certain like in-game adventure effects, like drinking from certain fountains or being blessed by an elf or, things like that, which can also overcome that miserable condition.
Okay. There's not a sense of like...
Right.
So I like how it sort of ties into the story. I'm trying to justify a bit like when he goes down to these depths, why would those, like, he faces it and fails, I guess, is like...
No, not exactly.
Yeah?
No, not exactly. It's that, remember, Balin told him that what it does is it provides him a context, an understanding. It means that you know why the dark places are dark, but that doesn't then mean that they must corrupt the light, right? Because there's two parts to shadow. One part is the, oh my God, there's this overwhelming thing. The other part is, even when I go into the light, the overwhelming thing is there. And that is the lie. The lie is that when I go into the light, there's still shadow. That's not true, right? Or at least that's, in this conception, that would not be true. The idea is that shadow is for shadow, light is for light. And you don't have to be consumed or haunted by this darkness when you are not in the places of darkness. That's kind of what Balin is giving you, is a context for when darkness occurs.
So basically it's clinical depression versus bipolar disorder.
Maybe, except I think it's more understanding the diagnosis that you're given. I think might be a better way to put it, rather than just, I feel crappy all the time. It's understanding the reasons why, which,
Yeah.
according to my wife's, who's a therapist, discussion of it, is a different kind of thing. And absolutely, and it's totally cool either way. I'm just giving you the choice.
Well, I think it's interesting, and I sort of like the notion that he went to this place and it was very affecting, and he almost, at least for now, can't get rid of it. Well, what he can do is find hope in the places of light and that sort of thing. So he's going to sort of understand darkness. So he gets it, which allows him to take heart in other places,
right.
And that sort of thing.
Right.
So yeah, well, let me ask one more thing: could he spend a fellowship phase in the future to get rid of it entirely if he wanted?
Nope.
So this is forever kind of thing.
Yep. Now, forever is a strong word. If there could be a narrative event later in the story that is so overwhelming that it might affect it, yes. Yeah. But definitely not just through the normal fellowship methods of recovery. No.
I'm just as a player, I'm slightly worried that I'm entering into a bargain that will affect me potentially greatly on the very next adventure that we're on.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Although, I mean, I don't want to overdo
an
the
adventure called
Two Dungeons
Deep.
No, it's definitely a back and forth. I mean, it's definitely I could see that going either way. I mean,
yeah.
I will say that the entire adventure does not take place underground next time.
Yeah,
I will just to be clear.
Yeah, I'm going to accept. I'm going to take I just like the story aspect of it. So he's going to accept Balin's offer and go and understand the depths of
and I won't play that out except to say that he does show you these dark places where things crawl and where the air feels, even smells foul, and where there is this weight of all of the hundreds and thousands of feet of rock and stone kind of pressing down upon you. Yeah. And yet you come through that and pass out on the other side, and Balin is with you the whole time. Mm-hmm. and does not, Balin doesn't like, it doesn't comfort you, but Balin's continual presence is there. Like, Balin never leaves. He doesn't depart. He doesn't, abandon you. He stays with you the whole time. And on the way out of this whole thing, you see sort of, he brings you through these spectacular caverns of gems that glimmer and glow, that shoot rainbow light through the darkness of this place. These great columns constructed by the dwarves to hold up the vaulting ceilings that they have built over centuries in their spectacularly practiced way. All of these things come to you so that, in a way, you are reminded that halflings who also, enjoy building things underground have a sense of groundedness with which they can connect, I think, to the dwarves and appreciate what the dwarves do at that level also. And Balin makes it very clear to you that part of why he does this as well is as a kind of moment as an homage to Bilbo. Because, of course, Bilbo, of whom Balin was always inordinately fond, remains this very powerful presence within Balin's mind. And so you come out of it on the other side in the ways that we described. So miserable for the deep places, but above, so again, just to be mechanically clear, when a check is made for Shadow, when I'm like, all right, do this, you get to do that check twice, basically, and you're doing it at advantage. That doesn't mean you can't get Shadow, but it means it's harder for you to get it. Okay. Also, I should say that technically when you're underground and you're miserable, you will obviously lose that effect because you will be at disadvantage because of being miserable, and hence it will just be a normal shadow check when underground, which is not surprising. Okay, good stuff, Red. Moving right on down. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. And just quickly, because I don't want to spend too long on this because we spent more time on the other. But I do want to mention that in the battered mug, the child that you met does come there, and in fact, you, assuming you're willing to do this, the child asks whether or not, I believe it was a she, I believe it was a girl, could work in the kitchen, basically washing dishes, and also wants to kind of learn a little bit about cooking from you. because wants to be able to help some other people, because it turns out that she has a network of kids who live in alleyways and in places. A couple of them are known to Brindle and the Brokenstone Irregulars, but they're not all thieves. Many of them just sort of keep to themselves, but they all know each other. And so in this kind of Dickensian style, she has this network of children that she'd like to be able to teach cooking for themselves, because they're mostly orphans. They don't have parents. They don't have the ability to do that otherwise. So if you're willing, she would like to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I take her under my wing and start her off lighter stuff, kind of work up to more progressively difficult recipes.
Her name, by the way, is Morella. And so...
Is this an unpaid apprenticeship?
Look, she's getting great exposure.
Sure, used that name this campaign already?
Yeah.
No, isn't it the same girl?
That's the same girl.
No. I mean, like, way back. Because, like, I remember us specifically having the conversation, because my first, like, not my first, but my first, like, long-term D&D character is also named Morella. And then I, like, mentioned that because, like, it reminded me of that, like, you named an NPC Morella.
You might have mentioned that at the time, but no, this is literally with my notes about what just happened with Engvald and Lord Brynny and all the investigation that just happened.
Yeah,
so
the girl who was hiding in the boat
was called Morella. I may just have come up with a name.
That back then?
It's conceivable I named an NPC the same name twice. That is not beyond
It's
the realm
also
of
conceivable that two people can have the same name in Middle Earth.
I know like 8 Gregs, like in the Bay Area. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's all supposed to be like, you know, Ori, Nori, etc. You get Morella, Norella, Sorella,
Barella.
Cruella.
Cruella. She loves cats, hates Dalmatians. Okay, so all right. So Morella, who is now working at the Battered Mug. Yes, I think you're well on your way to start making the Battered Mug, which of course, as you might expect, everyone there has welcomed you back with relief. You've actually, Bolo, gotten a little bit of funding now to start expanding the kitchen. Do you, by the way, hire any other chefs besides Morella that you have? I'm curious. Are you sticking with just that and?
I do ask the proprietor whether or not they have call for more, because he had his brher who was
Malin was I believe it was Malin was the innkeeper, and Fallen was his brother, who's the guy who doesn't talk much. And
so how has Fallen come along in his skills?
Well, so Fallen is no longer instantaneously, but like he's learned the principles of hygiene more. So like he's no longer just like using the same pan to cook like 50 different kinds of things. What's up, Diginferno? Thanks for the host. So he's doing that. So that's a big step forward for him. He's capable now of making food without instantaneously burning it. It's a slow process. He's getting there.
All right. Well, all right. Then I pitched to Malin that, maybe, because I do have other responsibilities, perhaps we should have one more.
Well, you're not leaving, are you? You're not going. I mean, you're not leaving.
No. I'm here for a time.
Oh. All right.
But I may have call to go in the future at some point. And so maybe we should just train one more cook, because we do have a lot of business.
Well, all right. If you're the one who's actually doing it. Oh, I suppose I've got to pay them, don't I?
Yeah, well, you will have to do that. But
all right, I'll pay them more. It seems so hard to get staff. All I needed to do was just pay them more, and suddenly it just feels like it's the difficult life of a restaurateur.
15 copper an hour is all
it's sometimes very Anyway. But anyway, yes. So he is able to do that. And so you actually have a couple of apprentices who come in that are now working. And so you expand the kitchen as a result. Malin keeps like being very nervous about the amount of money, but then he keeps looking at the amount of money that's being brought in, and you sort of persuade him that like, so they start building out in the back, get some like a fairly new, it's no longer the same ancient iron stove that's been used since, the time, the before times, like, I mean, he's sort of modified it now, and your knowledge of Flank Searer's work allowed you to make some other pans that are like it, sort of like, modified. No, nothing as good as Flank Searer, but, modified after it. And so, yes, you're able to do that. And make substantial changes to the way the Battered Mug looks, so that I would say it's not a haven, it's not a sanctuary yet.
Yeah.
But it definitely is now the highlight, you could almost argue, of the Broken Stone area.
Okay, well, so part of that whole venture is to see if we can't set aside a room or two for people who are in trouble, just temporary till they can get more permanent place, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of working on that too.
Okay, and Malin allows you to do that. Malin, it seems mostly every time Malin's just like, "You're not leaving, are you?" And every time you're like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "All right then," and he usually gives into whatever you ask him to do, so long as you're not.
Every morning when I come in, he's like, "Oh."
It's pretty much, he's right. I have this image of you every night just being like, "Good night, Malin. I'll most likely leave in the morning." Like, just, no.
Exactly.
Okay. So one question and one prompt.
Okay.
Was I able to go during my trip to Thorin's tomb?
Yes.
Did I get that benefit you were
Yes, you did.
about?
So that's right. So you will now be able to, so in addition to the whole thing with the misery, yes, you can now, during the adventuring phase, you'll be able to spend inspiration and remember Thorin's noble death. So you will recover a number of hit dice equal to half your proficiency bonus rounded up, which means that you will get 2 of those hit dice hit dice, not points. Hit dice you will get back if you spend inspiration to do so, to remember that death.
Okay. So I like that sort of narratively offsets a little bit of it. It's sort of part and parcel of my journey with Balin, right?
Yep. No, I love it. That was the idea. Yeah, that was the theory. So
and then the prompt is just to think, I would like to get that Seeker of the Lost thing into the game somehow, but not be sort of a separate side quest for me.
Right. Okay.
So just ponder, and if that can fold into this next adventure or the following one, so be it.
Absolutely, cool. Was already thinking about ways for that to happen.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. So let me just make one other note, actually. Okay, let's see. Find lots of underground places. Good. No, just joking. Okay, let's move down to Inga. So you get persuaded to add some elf fusion dishes to the menu. Yeah, exactly. It's a trend. Deconstructed lembas bread with a tarragon aioli. All right. So let's talk about Inga. For your fellowship phase, Inga, remind us again what you're doing for that. What is the plan?
So first of all, I would like to know what became of her rebuilding Broken Stone project that she started in the last fellowship phase.
So once your good friend Stubbis returns, and kind of like there's a whole interaction where there's kind of there's sort of back and forth about like what happened and why. But once that happens, then you get back to it. And the dwarves who now have had a chance to see you in particular having thwarted an attempt to do something to them, set back to it with a will. And I would say that simultaneous to Bolo doing his stuff with the broken mug, the battered mug, as that's going on, your people are also able to make significant improvements to Broken Stone. You're able to add a couple of, basically repave a lot of the streets. You're able to widen some of the alleys, and you're able to start producing buildings which hopefully more people will be able to afford to live in, because you have a number of lords who come by and they're just like, we see there's some wonderful work being done here. We'd like to invest on the ground floor type of thing. And I assume you tell them what for.
No, I'm going full 100 Wasser on them, which doesn't mean anything to you guys, probably, sadly.
But it means something badass in German, I assume.
100 Wasser was this great artist and architect who, everybody wanted to own a building designed by him,
right?
Which were fucking crazy. And at some point he, we call them Sozialwohnungen. They're like these type of apartments that are specifically for people on the lower end of the income spectrum.
Affordable
basically.
housing type of.
Yeah, that. And like he had designed this amazing building, with like specifically for affordable housing purposes, and like all these rich people wanted to get an apartment in that place, but like, nope.
Nice. Yeah, the whole point of
Specifically
affordable housing is
affordable
keep it.
housing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that works out quite well.
Yeah.
I should say that you obviously the people of Brokenstone are quite grateful for you and continue to be like more and more impressed with the party as a whole. But I will also say that you've gotten surprisingly little pushback from the noble classes, and this is despite the fact that you have not heard directly from King Bard for a while. So Bard has not weighed in like to you directly with this, and yet the nobles, besides the ones who want to get in on the ground floor, there haven't been anyone being like, listen, this is, using up perfectly usable space. Like, you've gotten very little of that, and you don't know why. It surprises you that something which is as big a change as what you're trying to do with Brokenstone has not met with more pushback from those who would like to keep Brokenstone just as it is. Not clear why yet, but in any case. So yes, that is what's going on with that.
Well, probably helps to have a friend in, King Bard's council.
Maybe.
Maybe. And also like having the king owe you also helps you probably. But what I'm mainly wondering about, because you did mention like this orphan network earlier, so like how is a general situation with like homeless people and stuff going?
I mean,
currently?
it's getting better, but part of what it's going to require is not just sort of an infusion of economic power, although that's a lot of it, is like literally just give people money so that they can, survive long enough to do things that they want to do, but also changing the attitudes of people towards Brokenstone, because a big issue of homelessness there is people go there because they don't ask questions and because the guards don't clean them up off the streets, because the guards don't spend a lot of time patrolling through there, and consequently businesses don't go there, nobody wants to go. So part of what you're doing in Brokenstone is sort of giving people pride in their own neighborhood by making it possible for them to feel proud, by giving them actual housing and buildings that are not dangerous. And obviously there is crime drops to like zero in the streets that you specifically are working, right? Like no one in you and like 3 streets around are going to come anywhere close to the clan chief and the hero of Dale and the they don't, this is not the time to be messing with stuff. So there's crime elsewhere in the city, but very much not the case in Brokenstone around the area where you're working. And so that definitely has an effect. Sure.
Can I have this vision of something, which, I mean, I can imagine River suggesting to Inga as a kind of building areas measure, where she can say, the people who don't have the skills to work the stone in the way that you do, but who will be, helping in any other way, you could always, help them to feel like this is theirs in a way by teaching them to do just a small amount of like etching on something, so that as they're moving stones and symbols, as they're moving stones and things around and helping to lay them, that they can know that they helped shape this specific piece in this one specific way. And then that way they'll always feel like they can point to that and say, I built that piece, or I put my thing there.
Okay, to get back to Hundertwasser, that is basically what he did with that one house I mentioned earlier. Because like I think it was like from the windows of each apartment, like an arm's length outside of each window, people were allowed to paint around the window, whatever they wanted.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I know, right? So no, like first of all, like Inga would be trying to incorporate people into this project as much as possible anyway. Like of course, like people can't do like the like type of construction work that like needs a lot of experience, but she would like probably need some people to run errands and stuff like that. So probably would like hire would have like probably already, like that's not something that like happening specifically now, but like since she started the project basically, like hiring people like kids and stuff, like like Morella. to like run errands and stuff, and like in returns they can like stay at the barracks.
This is,
stuff
I
like
think,
that.
also a very good counter to the direct. Well, I'll say this. So this is a. Yeah, all right. I'm not going to bring in the narrative piece yet because I want to know what else you're doing
Yeah.
mechanically with the fellowship phase, but then I'm going to talk about that possibly. So
No, like actually I know exactly what you're gonna get to, because like that's actually what Inge is trying to do, is like, you know, like what people would probably expect would be some like that dwarves would get more distant now.
Yep.
After all these things, but like Inge would like go like really fucking hard on like the public image reparations here.
right.
Um,
Yep. No, I'm with you, and I have something about
Yeah.
that. But tell me what else mechanically fellowship phase wise you're looking at.
So like what I was thinking doesn't have anything to do actually with the rebuilding project, but like instead I would like to think that for her heart, like for like helping to thwart the attack on Erebor.
Yep.
That she would get a cool cultural heirloom. So yeah,
see.
like taking the, what's it called? The dwarf rod. I don't know how to pronounce this in English. This is too difficult.
Dwarf wrought.
Alberg.
Die Halberke. That's how you pronounce that in German.
It is Hauberk in English. What? But where is where are you looking at this? Just so I can see it.
It is on page 185. That's the item, and the virtue would be one of the open virtues called something or other. Where is it? Like on the first page of the virtues.
Wait, 185 of
The
player's guide?
The cultural 185. Did you say? I thought it was 156, or maybe that was the items.
Because 185.
158. Sorry.
What? 158.
158. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, in
So
German you
158 is
switch the numbers
158
around,
is
so I
shadow
want to
corruption.
say-
I'm like, what? Okay. 158.
No,
I see it.
like in German, like you first say, like you would say it as 100.
I gotcha. I know. It's like you do all this crazy stuff with dates too. I get it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, at
no.
least like French is worse, okay?
Okay, so I see what you're looking at. Yes, the dwarf wrought hauberk, which is the corslet of mail. When wearing a dwarf wrought hauberk, you gain a +1 bonus to AC in addition to the normal AC bonus for wearing mail. You are immune to the bonus damage of critical hits. You do not suffer disadvantage on stealth rolls. Yes, indeed. You look magnificent. Yes.
So yeah, would take that one, and then like since I had my my what's it called, character improvement on hold, that would mean that I would use that to raise my stats, putting 1 point in Constitution, and I'm a bit torn whether or not intelligence or wisdom, because like I feel she would have like, you know, like the experience she gained throughout this adventure and like growing as a person, not physically but mentally.
I feel like wisdom makes sense for her, but
Yeah.
I'm just randomly
I agree.
chiming
Yeah.
in.
So yeah, then that would mean Constitution of 16 and Wisdom of 12, which means round numbers, which means a heightened modifier, which we love. We do
I love it. So this is
Raise
all fine with
modifier.
me. And I want to do your brief one, and then I will come to Amal last but not least. But I want to play this out in this way. When you get this this mail, this corslet of mail, Inga, you are, I would say, after having received it and kind of wearing it, and I do want to know, would you wear this? How much would you wear it? Would you wear it like at the Broken Stone stuff as you're working on it? Would you wear it only in adventuring? Like when would you wear this new hauberk?
Like I'm assuming dwarves basically wear armor like other people wear hoodies, right?
Especially one that's as light as this, yes.
So like, yeah, she would probably like almost always wear this. Like if it's like especially this light, like that would actually be really helpful for working on a construction site. Right?
That's
Because,
what I figured. So
Yeah.
perfect. So one evening, after you've sent most of your crew home, and you are in the process of working on shoring up basically this one portion of a building that you're kind of retrofitting to be able to have multiple floors so that you can put multiple apartments in it, as opposed to just, that used to be like this one, way back, it used to be this old, fairly stately home. Then everything was destroyed with Smaug. Then this whole place became a slum. And then this particular house sort of fell into disrepair. And so now you're retrofitting it to be able to have these apartments. And so you're working on sort of shoring up the first floor. Wearing armor at Walmart is acceptable for most dwarves. Yes, exactly. And so you're working on shoring this up. There is a, as you're working on it, the door, obviously, to the outside street is open. And everybody is gone but you. And at the door, you, as you're working away, I guess on one of the support beams, you hear outside, "So, I hope that's light enough for you." It's not a voice that you recognize, although it's probably a dwarven accent.
Wait, is that said at me, or is just somebody saying
Said
that
at you. Someone is in the door, clearly speaking it to you.
while I'm doing what? Like that?
You're working on a support beam, so you're just like crafting it so that it will better support the second floor of the building that you're working on here in Brokenstone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've lifted heavier. Like, would try to look around, but like I'm holding this support beam.
Well,
right
no,
now.
you're just like shaping it. So you're not like holding it. You're just shaping it. So you could turn if you wish. It's up to you.
Oh yeah, like I guess I do that.
So you see this dwarf that is leaning on the corner, has in fact a hood, and is kind of leaning against the frame of the door, has kind of reddish and silver hair. You can see that he has a pipe in one hand, from which a smoke is curling out of the pipe. And he says, "Well, I'm glad to hear it. You know, there's some who think that you might have burdened yourself with too much. Begging your pardon, Thane. I would have thought you might have spent more time, perhaps working in the Erebor. The dwarves need some work done there too, you know."
Well, I know for a fact that the Erebor has plenty of very capable stoneworkers. So, and like she says that while getting back to work, like not looking at him, just like concentrating on what she's doing.
Well, that's true. There's a lot of them that are, of course, well suited for the job. It's just interesting to some of us that you ain't one of them. Apparently, you'd rather spend time here, building up these homes for whoever's going to live here, than doing so with the dwarves. They need housing too, don't they?
I think that like Inga should know what like the general housing situation at the Erebor is, because she has worked in the Erebor actually,
Of course.
before she went on. To
Of
the,
course,
on
yeah. No, the
adventure.
Erebor is not in desperate straits, for sure.
Yeah. And she's like, well, now more than ever, it is really important that we show our faces here and help people. Especially considering how some people you think of us.
What's that exactly?
If you like, I would ask you if you have been living under a rock, but like, you know.
I have.
Is that like a racial slur for
He's just
dwarves?
gonna say, he's like, "I've been living under my mountain home, actually." He says, no, he says,
Oh, sorry. I just love the idea that for dwarves, the equivalent expression is, "Have you been living above ground?
yeah, it's like,
Haven't you heard?" Like,
have you been living over a rock? Because, so.
Oh, you haven't heard?
we've been living under the sky.
You're living under the sky. So he says,
But you had in the clouds, huh?
I've been living in the places where I'm supposed to. When I travel here to see what's going on in Dale, I'm glad to see that there's people caring for the men and the elves and those here, the halflings too. I'm just surprised that it doesn't seem to occur to have one of the great dwarven heroes helping the dwarves themselves. Makes you wonder whether or not it's all about helping anyone but the dwarves, if you'll beg your pardon.
Well, you seem to know a lot about me, aside from the fact that I did actually work for years in the Erebor. So, what do you know?
I know, of course, your legend, your reputation. You are, of course, the Thane. You're daughter of Ida. You're a counsel of King Dane himself. And, of course, you're one of the heroes of Dale.
Who just rescued the Erebor? Sorry.
I hear a voice floating from here. I don't know where they are. They can't possibly be anywhere nearby.
And it's River walking in with like lunch.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like,
I'm totally
"Hi."
actually.
No.
If that was feasible, I would 100% be like River just kind of walks past and like stares daggers at this
No,
guy.
I
and
know.
is like,
I would, under normal circumstances, I would allow that, but no, I want this to stay with Inga.
That's all good.
So, and he says, of course, it's true. You also saved Erebor. That's what they tell us. Saved Erebor. Of course, saved him to do what? Do more cobbling and carpenting for the humans here in Brokenstone, I suppose.
I suppose you have a point to make here, though
I just want
having
you
a
to...
hard time catching on to it.
I just want you to know, Thane, that although there are many dwarves who are grateful for your assistance, there are a few who might be, in fact, more than a few, who are wondering how long it's going to take for you to remember that being a dwarf means sometimes helping your own people. And to the extent you're helping these people here, well, I would think humans would have humans to help them. The dwarves have always had to look to themselves when times got rough, and people like many of us think it might be nice if you can remember that yourself. In between hammering.
Yeah, well, I for one don't think that we all, live on our own little mountains. Waterland is big. We all live here together. And you should also know that this town is, in fact, not just inhabited by men and hobbits and whatnots. Like, there are also dwarfs living here. Didn't know if you knew that.
I did. The question is whether they've forgotten what it's like to be a dwarf. But I suppose there are some who don't mind selling toys to human children. Anyway, I will let you get back to your important work. And you hear him leave, and you hear something tink, 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 like just little stone hit the ground behind you.
Yeah, Inga doesn't even say goodbye. She just concentrates on her work.
But something was tossed behind you is what I mean, Inga, like on the ground.
Yeah, I'm
behind
assuming
you.
it's not a grenade because I don't
No,
think they
no,
have
no,
them in
it's
the
not.
setting. So Inga does not care. She thinks he probably just kicked over a pebble or something.
Okay. I would
Yeah.
say that that's fine. I would say that when you're done with your work here and you do turn, you can see that a stone is in fact lying on the ground behind you. It is flat. And it has basically a stone that has etched on it two words in dwarven runes. And the two words say in Dwarvish, dwarves remember. And now I'm going to jump down to the river, last but certainly not least. And River, I need to ask you the same question, which is about this fellowship phase. Just to remind everybody, are you doing the thing with stone, or what did we decide to do?
Yes, going to so narratively, River is going to put Warden in Wanderer, essentially, and just like she's going to spend a chunk of time with the people who she cares about. So while like I'm imagining when she initially, but my sense is when she initially leaves Erebor, she's very concerned about Stone. She's very concerned about how different he seems, and she kind of recognizes the fact that the very dark place that she was in before she sees signs of there, and the idea of stone enduring anything like that is anathema to her, and so she will, for a little while, I think, be very distracted trying to do anything that isn't paying attention to stone. So I can see her, helping out at Broken Stone a little bit, but always kind of looking over to Stone, and then spending some time in Haven and talking with Ash and delivering Tawny's good wishes, of course, to Ash. And talking.
And Haven,
there.
by the way, I'm just sorry not to interrupt, just very quickly. Haven has, in the intervening months, grown considerably, both in terms of people who have arrived and a lot of the work. It's now, you would define it as kind of a bustling little settlement almost, with a bunch of people that have gathered together. And there is a new flag which Ash presents to you with your approval. It is the letter H. And over the H have been placed. Thank you so much for the raid, Wenchkin. I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much. Over the H are a pair of broken shackles, and she asks whether you approve or not.
Yes, absolutely. River will be just dazzled by it. Tears will spring to her eyes, and in fact, I can sort of imagine her taking that design and saying, that she could have her mother weave it into a really splendid standard. That there's, obviously the symbol can be used everywhere and stuff, but to make it really special, she could take it to Rosgabel and ask for that to happen. But my main sense is that in every place, I think as she spends time helping people as best she can, there's always going to be a kind of, in the stage term, the theater term, cheating towards the audience and stuff. Mm-hmm. She's always going to cheat a little bit towards Stone and pay attention to him. And I think that it's when, as she's done all of that, she goes and spends some time with Tawny, and then comes back and to spend the remainder of the time in when she's with Tawny, I imagine she'll help with the weeding and help with
tomato movement
and help with just chores, essentially. Okay. Help out and earn keep and just hang out and talk, but when she's back in Rosgabel, I think that what she's going to be working on communicating to Stone is the idea of help. And that she will have tried to do that in part by always looking towards him as all these different kinds of assistance are being rendered, not expecting that Stone is going to learn to weed or build things, but just
certainly seems game, but yeah, maybe not quite. Yeah.
So she so that's going to be the main thing that she works on with him, but the main, he's always going to be her focus as she's in all of these places. And as she tries to give him all the things that he likes best, all the treats that he likes best, all the brushing his big shaggy hair in the way that he likes and stuff, and just basically, treating him throughout this time.
Sorry, just writing myself a note about something else.
Maybe introducing him to some nice lady hounds while in Rosgabel, since somebody has put the idea of puppies in my head and stuff.
I don't even know how to go about the discussion. That'll be... okay, I just want to make that note. So, as you're doing this, give me a very quick example of how you teach him help, River. Give me an example of a training exercise you're doing with this. And obviously it can be Stone specific training exercise.
I think, okay, for instance, so if, I think she might start with something like, if she drops a tool, or if she drops a weapon, for instance, and says help, that he would pick it up and bring it to her.
Okay.
But start with tools, things that are stick shaped, that already have some appeal. Then there might also be like this will be slightly ridiculous, but if she were they're near the Anduin and stuff, so she might kind of do a thing where she kind of teeters out towards the edge of the Anduin and like just leans in and then goes help and expects him to like pull her back or something. So
I like that. Let's go with that. The first couple of times that you do that, he kind of and he gets like very agitated. Like he obviously is supposed to do something, he doesn't really know. So he like goes up and like nuzzles you since you're not actually. In fact, at one point he does that a little bit, and you're like, you have to try not to fall in. You're like, no, that's not that's not the
I
idea.
totally expect she will fall into the water a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
I just imagine him going, "Oh, playtime!" and just pouncing you. Both of you go into the river.
A few times he does this where one or both of you end up there. You get more than a little bit, wet from over time. But there is one afternoon, I would say, where you've been doing this work, where you were on the bank of the river and you are sort of looking out at it and it's, let's say, late afternoon. The sun is beginning to set now. And you're sitting there eating a late lunch after having, done a bunch of stuff and working with things, and Stone is nearby. And at one point, you have let us say, I might actually make it an instrument. Which instrument? Tell me an instrument that you've got with you. You're going to use for this.
She's got her harp.
You got the harp, right? So at one point, the harp. It's sort of lying there, and then the harp slides down this rock. Now you had it next to you, but it sort of slides down, the rock a little bit on this kind of slick stone, not your dog, but the rock, and slides down into it. And almost, I would say, out of like panic, if nothing else, because you're like, eating your food and like, oh, like that type of thing. And so you almost sort of, without even thinking about it, just kind of yell out help. And suddenly, like a gray streak like shoots past you, and leaping down to the edge of the water, Stone splays out his paws and grabs onto the harp and then picks it up. Now his whole body is sliding down slightly towards the river. What do you want to do about that?
Oh, she'll I think I mean, her thought will be for Stone more than for the harp. So she, I'm trying to decide whether she would, pull him back or jump into the water to push him. Probably she would pull him back, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so you pull him back, and he is, of course, a large dog. But you pull him back with all of your strength, and he as well, and he kind of, scrabbles back. And eventually both of you, and of course as he's doing this, obviously there's water going everywhere and both of you are sprayed and whatever, but he kept the harp from landing in the water, and so he puts it on the bank, basically lands it on the bank, and both of you are there panting quite literally, and wet and everything, and he sniffs the harp and then kind of looks up at you and then looks at the harp again and looks back at you like, oh, like, what did I just save type of thing.
River is just delighted by him and scritches him, and she kind of sort of half leans against him while leaning the harp against her, so that they are connected to each other, and she goes, "You did such a good job. Listen," and she just starts to play a sort of. She plays first a kind of jaunty, triumphant, drum drum drum
right.
kind of thing, and then once she's done, then she just kind of starts noodling on the harp, and just plays him like a sweet song, basically.
I would say that as you do that, you can feel the tension in his back start to resolve a little bit and kind of just he's against your back, so like you can feel him sort of like leaning back into you. If you've ever had a dog, and I know cats have this too, but I think dogs, the weight of a dog when it really is just like fully comfortable in the sleep is very much, everyone's always like, I can't get up because I got a cat on me. Listen, when you have a dog on you that has decided to fall asleep, good luck, all right?
Arv, that's not why you can't get up. It's about not waking up the cat because the cat is comfortable.
Oh no, well
What
that's
about
true
the
too.
weight?
But I'm talking about just dead weight straight. Like even light dogs somehow can make themselves more dense. I'm convinced. They're scientifically capable of. Anyway, so and you hear this kind of like gentle, like, sort of snoring almost. And when you look back at him, River, I would say that he looks as peaceful as you can remember him in his kind of slumber. And as the music sort of floats off into the air, you may even see a few kind of birds circle a couple times, though maybe you just imagine it, and then head on. You think you can see something moving in the undergrowth and a little whiskered face, possibly. Maybe there's ears, maybe it's not whiskers, maybe it's an ears and a nose. It's a bunny, maybe. It kind of peeks through and then goes away. And when this is over, Stone's shadow point is removed. Also, Stone has now learned the ability of help, which was the idea of the training thing. And I would say that the last thing that I want to talk about before we bring this to a close is that at one point, all of you in your various wanderings receive the same message. Probably Tani, this would come to you, I would assume, on the with a messenger on a lathered horse, that obviously has been riding rapidly to try to find you. This is after the River has been there and left already. Although if you want, it could actually, no, you know what, I take that back. This could be when River's visiting Tani, so it could be that the messenger comes for both of you. Bolo, I would say that this is during one of the times when you are sort of outside the battered mug and you're kind of looking around doing like architectural plans in your head about like, maybe I can get Inga to add on an extension to that part to do this thing with the stuff, And as that happens, a guard comes and actually presents you again with this same message that I'm about to discuss. And then Inga, I would say for you, working at various parts of the Broken Stone, maybe the same messenger gives that, that same kind of message to you that's rolled up. And the message is the same, and it says, you have been summoned to a council with King Bard. The need is urgent. Please do not delay. And that summon from Bard. Go ahead, Inga.
Just like before you wrap up the session, I want to.
Okay. I'm about to wrap it up. So tell me what you're gonna say.
Oh, I had a mechanical question first.
Okay.
So with getting my Constitution modifier up, do I get just 1 extra hit point, or do I get 8 extra hit points?
8 extra hit points because it's retroactive, so you go back to all of them.
Okay, then I now have 66.
66.
Yes, we love to see it.
All right, so has now successfully overcome the River's hit point total.
How did you? I didn't understand what the mechanic was from the narrative, that happened with the bad dwarf. What was?
Inga. Oh, go ahead.
Was that how you got the Constitution modifier, or was that?
No. That was just because travels and stuff. She just got harder.
Oh, okay.
No, the story thing was with getting the armor. And I knew I wanted the armor, but
you were wearing the armor. Okay, got you.
No, it doesn't have anything
separate.
The angry dwarf didn't have anything to do with any of the characters.
Gotcha.
Got there.
Okay.
And the second thing I wanted to say, which I meant to mention earlier and then promptly forgot, is that Inga has actually over the past years been in writing with her late husband's family back at the Iron Hills.
Ooh.
And she probably would have more recently written a letter specifically about what happened.
Oh, okay.
With the attack on the Erebor and around Niping and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
don't know if that's gonna be relevant in any form or way, but
It might,
it's a thing she would've done.
although I'm gonna make a note of it, but also remind me that the
Yes.
letter was sent. Niping, as you might expect, the whole situation is obviously going to be
Yes.
tied into what we're dealing with as we go forward.
Also, King Dine would know that she used to live at the Iron Hills for some years.
Oh, yeah.
so,
Oh yeah. And this
that might also become relevant because you did spoil at some point that we might go to the Iron Hills. So,
I mean, listen, it's
yeah.
quite possible. I promised you,
yes.
did I not? There would be more dwarf stuff, and there sure was.
Yes.
And so, but yes. Okay. And that, folks, is going to bring us to an end of the fellowship phase and set us up for what we're going to do in our next session, which will be to Dungeons Deep, which will be set in 2959 in early autumn. I really enjoy fellowship phases because I get a chance to individually focus on characters, not just as part of the overall story, but in terms of sort of fulfilling more of what they are. Sometimes there are main story beats that are tied in. We had that a little bit with Inga. Sometimes there are beats that are more specific to character. We certainly had that with something like Bolo or the River, or even Tani. And sometimes we get stuff which sort of just builds out the world as a whole. And so it's a lot of fun for me to sort of see. And I can only do it because I know that I have wonderful role players who are going to, be able to get into it and sort of experience it as I think it's meant to be done. So, so good work from all of the players. I will start as usual on the bottom of the column. Yeah, Mal, I mean, obviously I love the idea that the river is so closely connected to Stone. And the river gets plenty of her own time. I mean, it's not like Stone, it's always like, well, Stone's owner, the river. But I do think that it's nice, given how significant Stone is as a fighting part of the group now, to be able to focus more on what Stone is and how he can help. And I think it also narratively assists with what is going on in terms of the river's development and her own position. And that's why, jokes aside about, Stone will live forever, having an understanding also of the passage of time, because the river is still young, but is not as young as she was. And, Stone is not as young as he was, and so on. That has compensations as much as it has a sense of, there's a wistfulness that autumn brings about, of this sense of loss and passage of time. But there's also consolations, right? Because there's the wisdom that you gain from that experience, which allows you to live the life you have more fully, I guess. So I was thinking about all of that when you were role-playing it. How did you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks see you next?
Oh, it was really, really enjoyable. I really like the windows into everyone else, and to just kind of I feel like it's fellowship phases feel like getting to be an audience in a way that we don't usually get to be for each other. Mm-hmm. So, for 3/4 of the time, I get to just like be in the chat's position of like actually just watching the roleplay happen and stuff. So I really like that. And I have like a couple of mechanical questions, more not for this fellowship phase, but just like in general. I don't know that the book actually provides for a way to like develop Stone stat wise in the way that like his hit points go up when Rivers go up. His hit points go up when Rivers' level goes up. He can learn these extra steps, but he doesn't see character improvement, quote unquote, in the way that that the characters do. So I like that this is a thing to sort of develop and address that, I guess. But it does make me wonder, like, also I super don't understand how his charisma is like a 7. That makes 0. Have people looked at dogs? I mean, I'm sorry. Like, did the people who make this book ever meet a dog? The dogs have freaking natively 18 charisma, and that's just what it is.
Amal, like, just think of the dog who is like sitting next to a suspiciously yellow puddle and like looking at you with sad puppy eyes, like, no, I didn't pee on the floor. And you're just like, yeah, you fucking did, dude.
Yeah, but that's my whole point, is that their charisma modifier means that you can't even be mad at them the way that you should be.
Or the dog who comes running home saying, look what I rolled in!
Yeah. Again, it's like, wow, you reek, but you're so cute! You're so cute! Anyway, I don't know.
I guess I'm just immune to these kinds of
I was going to say
things.
the river is particularly vulnerable, right? Slash Amal is particularly
Indeed.
vulnerable.
Maybe
to
growing
this.
up with like multiple dogs didn't like hardened me to.
The thing is, I grew up with dogs,
Their
but
ways.
as outdoor dogs, right? So like you sort of expect
same.
them to. Oh, well, then I don't understand
Like
what the
my
problem
dad was
is.
a ranger. He had like hunting dogs as pets.
That's the thing. I just like the whole like peeing on the floor. That's just kind of the world is their floor.
The world is their floor.
The world is their floor to pee on. Anyway, all this to say that so I did super enjoy it. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if like they were how you were going to do the shadow point removal, whether it was going to be mechanical or not. In terms of like a roll. So I wasn't sure towards the end whether it was going to be like River rolling it and then sharing it between the two of them and stuff like that. But I liked how it went down. So yeah, I think that's basically it. I'm desperate to see what has happened in Blazeball. There's lots of stuff happening right now. Everything's burning down. Where people can see me next is probably here, to be honest. I'm again trying to work on novels, so not going to be doing many appearance type things. That's basically it. But yeah, cool.
Thank you, Amal. Good stuff as always. And that does remind me for next session, just as a note to the players, if people want to throw out some possible August Tuesdays, I do want to mention that I think the best Tuesdays for us might be the 10th and the 24th, which is typically how we've done this before, which is like 2nd and 4th, and then maybe that would mean that, but I don't know if you can do that or not. We don't have to talk about the whole thing now, but I just wanted to throw out there something to think about.
Let me double check on what weekday my boyfriend's birthday was. It might be a Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a Tuesday. That would be the 24th, so that's not happening.
Okay. Well, so another option would be 10th and 17th, if people could do that, which would just be, and then Terry, maybe you and I can do the game book thing on the 3rd. So, oh wait, you said the 17th, is the 24th or the 17th? I'm sorry, what did you say? I
can't do the 24th.
Okay, that's fine. So then the 10th and 17th you could do. So I'm just going to throw that out for the players. We'll talk about it off stream, but I just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, thank you, Mel. Always a pleasure, as always. Terry, same thing. I mean, Inga had an opportunity, obviously, I love the Broken Stone storyline and Inga really developing that. And for you obviously had a more story-based kind of narrative moment, because part of this is sort of raising the stakes for Inga, because as a dwarf, we've gotten to see sort of the men's version, right? The human version of what Gunvar and his people think is happening, where like they're getting too invested with the dwarves. But from the dwarves' point of view, as we talked about, the dwarves had to betray their own to make this happen, and there is discontent among the dwarves also. And as now a level 8 high-level representative of the dwarves that people are now taking note of, that means that you're going to be also held up to, well, look at you. I mean, she goes with a hobbit and with a Bjorning and with a woodsman. I mean, like, whatever, like, she's not doing stuff for the dwarves. So there's going to be that kind of bigotry that Inga is going to have to address both in example and also direct action. So you saw a little bit of that going on today. How'd you feel about today? Where will the fine people see you next?
I mean, like, the haters gonna hate. So, like, the thing is, Inga grew up on the surface. Like, she's like used to like all kinds of like racist shenanigans.
Sure.
So she like kind of grew like a thick skin to it, I suppose.
Yep.
And like it's just like these people who are like saying all that shit, like about like, oh yeah, she should go help the dwarves more, blah blah blah. It's like, go fuck yourself. What the fuck do you know? Like, the hell. It's just like,
Yep.
It's difficult to get to her. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
She does have a very thick skin.
Now some armor to go along with the thick skin. By the way.
Yes, speaking of the armor. So her armor class is 18 now.
AC
because like 18. From the armor itself she gets 17. But
yep.
She also has a skill that gives her an additional point of armor class when she's wearing armor. So.
Fortunately, my ignore Hauberk creature is all set. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
That's amazing.
And she's immune to additional damage from crits now, so she's basically I'm almost untouchable at this point.
You're our tank. There we go.
I'm the tankiest dwarf.
There's
Yes.
a permanent space behind you for Bolo.
And like also she's
Right.
like now the fastest one in the party, I think. Well, I'm assuming that like the bear form makes Tawny also pretty fast, right? He probably has like a movement of like 40 feet in that form or something.
It's not specified, but he can
Okay.
cover 3 days worth of range in one night.
That's pretty damn fast.
Doesn't he get a different movement speed? Anyway, I'm just used to playing regular.
No,
druids.
not as a night goer.
Oh,
Not
okay.
in that regard. Nope.
Yeah, but anyway, it's so she is the fastest little tank.
Yes. Yes.
With
We
a
already heard from
terrifying
chat a new
magic
meat shield.
axe.
Yeah, we said a new meat shield, like even more meat shield. So yeah.
So yeah, what she lacks for in brains, she makes up for with being basically to be on topic Olympic gold medalist and everything else. So.
I see.
So yeah, that's Inga. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for her to get back to the Iron Hills.
Good stuff, Terry. Where will the fine folks see you? Next?
They will see me like at some point here, which we still have to figure out, as you heard earlier. And aside from that, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at TariTunes, where you will find me occasionally posting art things like cartoon stuff or heraldry stuff or stuff.
Or stuff.
Sometimes I sew and post pictures of that, so that's also a thing. So yeah, that's me.
Good stuff, Terry. Always
Yes.
a pleasure, and we will see you soon. And moving right on up the line, Brad Bolo, I really enjoyed the idea that you, first of all, chose, because I know you had said you were definitely affected by the Smaug thing and everything, and and being in the, in that area where Thorn was, and I really love the idea that Bolo is really living out the story of his hero Bilbo, but also finding the limitations of what story does and is, and recognizing the line between narrative and reality, and how those things sometimes can shape each other in positive ways too. And I'm glad that you chose, it would have been fine if you hadn't, but I'm glad that you ended up picking this so-called devil's bargain that I gave, because it feels to me like it's narratively appropriate without turning, and fear not, child, we're not going to make Bolo into like, deeply like listens to Evanescence all the time. Like
You
we're
wake
not
in a
gonna make
tunnel.
it- Yeah, I mean, like it's going to be
You move to another tunnel.
another tunnel, darkness and ever more darkness. But it was enjoyable to see Bolo go through that, and I like the idea of Balin feeling connected to Bolo in some way because of his connection with Bilbo. How'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
Yeah, I like his arc. I didn't have any of this planned, of course, when he first started, but it's kind of neat seeing him change over time and following in Bilbo's footsteps in a way. So he's he's affected by it. He's inspired by it, but it's not the exact same path either. They're
Sure.
taking different paths, and so that's kind of neat to watch as well. Yeah, so I like that. I like all the stuff that was going on there. I mean, narratively speaking, of course, he is not in the greatest place right now, because he's going to be struggling with that from now onward, kind of thing, which is interesting that he's affected so much by this last adventure. And by the way, talking about like the heirloom tomatoes so much, I had to go and bring out the ones
It's beautiful.
So
It's a
this one
tomato?
this is half ripe. It will be all this color when it's done. This is called indigo rose. So it's
Heard of them?
yeah, they're still like large, like cherry tomatoes, not quite plum tomatoes. But I haven't tasted any yet. This is as far as they've come so far. Another few weeks, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
Honestly, my favorite way to have tomatoes is just to like slice them into thick slabs, sprinkle salt on them, and put a single basil leaf there, and just chomp.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
I just love
there's a-
tomato everything. So it's
There's a local
tomato
Italian
sauce,
deli
raw tomatoes, tomato salad.
where we get some fresh
Baked
mozzarella.
tomato.
So I like doing that kind of thing too, like a
Yeah,
salad.
exactly.
I mean,
Awesome.
so yeah, so the I mentioned a couple of weeks or a couple of adventure sessions ago that I was going to writing book camp. It's called. I'm teaching there starting Sunday. So that's just in Wisconsin. I'm going to be there all next week. And then beyond that, I'll just plug one more time. This is out in the UK, last book in the Shattered Sand series at Desert Tar Asunder. So check that out. It's out in ebook, audio, physical copies. So check it out.
Good stuff. Thank you, Brad. I should also, I did this for John Helfers, who also lives in Wisconsin, but I did want to congratulate you on the 50-year drought is over, and the Milwaukee Bucks are the NBA champions, which is a good thing to mention, because Giannis, who is their big star, is not only a great player, but actually a genuinely good guy. And in a world where athletes are not always that way, it is nice to be in a place where they were easy to root for. So if my Celtics can't be there, I'm happy to see the Bucks win. So congratulations to the. And also you got Aaron Rodgers back, so there's that too. So,
the Bucks run was fun. I remember when they picked him early on, and it was it's one of those gamble picks. He was very
boy, did that pay off.
And when they got him and stuff, and it's been great. So it was fun, and I have seen some stuff from him. He's a humble guy.
He really is.
And just very, very exuberant, excited, about the sport and stuff, and not taking it, too much.
Interesting guy. If you look up the thing on YouTube for him which is like him talking about time, the passage of time, and about why, how he stays humble, and a lot of it is sort of focusing his reasons as to why he focuses on the present and why living in the past and the future are both bad things. But it's cool. Anyway, he's admirable figure and a hell of a player. Anyway, congratulations. Thank you, Brad. We will see you back here soon. And last but certainly not least, Tren, Tani, definitely, I know you were sort of half jokingly, reluctantly being like, all right, I'll take the night goer. And everybody's like, yay, you took the night goer, Bear. But it gave us an opportunity really for what I think is a really, cool moment with Tani coming to an understanding of some aspect of his heritage. And I think it does fit in with the fact that he is relatively young, that he's not some like kind of grizzled, like, oh, I've been, whatever. Like he's coming to terms a little bit with different aspects of himself. And obviously the arc from being a berserker to a healer, we know all about that. But having this other arc of sort of understanding where his heritage fits, and that doesn't change the fact that his family remains this group, but how he, what he brings to the family, what he brings to the table in terms of his own development is really interesting. And so I enjoyed watching that. Yes, Terry, what's up?
So you said from a berserker to a healer, but now you can literally turn into a bear. What kind of like spirituality being a berserker is about?
Well, spirit bear at night. Let's just be clear. I have this image that everyone's just like, no, can't you turn to a bear now? Like, no, that's not what this means. Anyway, so Tren, how did you feel about today's session? Where were the lovely folks find you?
I really enjoyed it. I liked, like you said, half joking about, okay, fine, I'll take the night goer thing. Because the last time, it was a possibility, everybody was like, you got to do this. Oh my God, you have to turn into a bear. And I was like, I don't have to.
Yeah, you do.
But I do now. But this is going to give us some interesting, tactical advantages when we're in a situation where he can, spend his nights dreaming that that he's a bear and just explore 3 days, range, and see what's out there and what they might find, and he'll still leave footprints so people will know that, oh, there's a bear out here in the middle of this field somewhere. How the hell did the bear get out here? But I really enjoyed seeing everybody else's stuff, and you mentioned having great role players and having great writers as well in the group. We're not just good role players, but they're also good writers, so that we each bring our own flavor to the RP and what we're doing with it. And I really think that that's a lot of fun to see happen. One thing I will note is that since it is a new year, Tani can now use his relief from long burdens to alleviate 1 point of shadow from someone.
Ooh, so yeah, that's right. That's right. So we'll do that maybe next time. Don't let me forget though, because that is important.
I won't.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it today. I'm like, I could remove stones. No.
Aww.
No. I love stone to death, but I think there's probably a better use for removing a shadow point from somebody else.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. Where will they see you next, Ren?
Here
That's true. On Saturday.
On Saturday for more running around in the Mournlands. I think we have to go back out. Yeah, we have to go back out to the Mournlands. No,
Yeah.
we're in the Mournlands.
You're in the
We're
Mournlands.
just starting a fight.
Yep, that's right. You were in the midst
with
of
a
double goblins.
Not a human centipede.
Yeah, exactly. It was really bizarre. Everyone's like, wait, what is this Cthulhu nonsense? I was like,
right.
So anyway, yeah, that campaign's a lot of fun, and I am very excited for it. And you can, of course, also hear Trent's audiobooks, and the Escape Pod is happening
on Thursday.
Thursday. So you'll definitely want to check out the story, which is called
Tiger Lawyer Gets It Right.
Tiger Lawyer Gets It Right. Good stuff. Lovely as always from all the players. You all know how much I appreciate all of you and this campaign. And thank you all for being with us. And we will see you all in August for our next 2 sessions and 2 Dungeons Deep. Chat, can we get some love for Trendane, for Brad, for Terry, and for Amal? Thank you, everybody. And players, I will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Okay. And that is going to do it for today on this channel, but it's not going to do it overall for us, because in a half hour, I am going to be back over on GOG with the second session of D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and you won't want to miss the introduction on this, people. I'm telling you right now, make sure you're there, because the introduction is going to be interesting. I am very excited about it, and it's going to be cool, and I am very excited for that. And I'm really, really happy with this campaign. I mean, again, I'm just very lucky. All of my campaigns, I love the players, I love the characters, and I love the stories that we're telling together. So I'm very excited about that. Oh, yes, that's right. And there are new podcast episodes of Storm King's Thunder out thanks to the amazing Fleos. So if you want to hear the audio versions of the Storm King's Thunder that we played over the course of many years over on GOG, you can check out right at that link through Echo's Twitter, and you'll be able to see it there. So yes, I am most excited about that. But that is going to be it for me. At 4 p.m. today is where we're going to be over on GOG with Peripheral Mike, with Darksaber 2K, with Pyron Jade, and with Ananda as we continue with D&D with GOG and Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So we've got that going on. Oh my God, the 2 mods. Well, that's the 2 bots. I mean, I'm going to ban one of them. Success. And I'm going to ban the other one. I saw this early because that just happened. That's like our 3rd bot. That means that we're getting noticed. That's great. Everyone's just like, oh, hey, it's you. So if you like what you saw and heard, please make sure to follow the channel. Check out our YouTube with !arvtube. Discord is !arvcord. Twitter is !arvtweets. Website arvanelleron.com. On the financial side, of course, we have got !Arv Shop, which is the merchandise area. !Arv Treon, which is our Patreon, sitting right there. And of course, thank you, Triffid. And of course, we've got so we've got the Patreon, which really helps us, so that good things for you, good things for the channel. You can get inspirations to help the players as well. And of course, subbing to the channel allows you to get those awesome custom sub badges and emotes. Again, new custom sub badges on the way. Thanks, Echo. New custom sub badges are on the way. They are going to be done by the able Shadowed Mage, so be on the lookout for those because they're going to be here. So fear not, they are going to be on the way sooner rather than later, and you're going to get more cool sub badges based upon how long you've been subbed to the channel. So please consider doing that, because that really does help not only us, but helps you as well. On the publishing side, Icarus for the Icarus graphic novel from the amazing Athos Arts. Greyshade KS for details about my Greyshade Kickstarter. Greyshade, of course, is going to be published by Athos Arts, and the Kickstarter introducing the Greyshade universe, which includes the last 2 books in that series, Renegade and Heretic, and also includes a board game, and also includes a role-playing game, and also includes an audiobook from that same Trendane Sparks. All that is Greyshade KS. That will launch in 5 weeks, August 31st. And it will end on Sunday, October 3rd at Origins in Columbus, Ohio. So I'm very excited for that. And of course, Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That is my 5e. I know, what? What do you mean? My 5e adventure and source book from Alligator Alley Entertainment, which is also doing the tabletop role-playing game within the Greyshade universe, which will be designed by Aaron Rosenberg. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm very excited about it. And I hope you folks are as well. Schedule-wise, as I said, 4 p.m. today, we've got D&D and GOG with Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Then we're off Wednesday, Thursday. It is possible we'll have a bonus stream, but unlikely in the next couple days anyway. And then Friday, we have Esper Genesis. And Saturday, we have D&D with Infinity and Beyond and more of the Eberron campaign. So we got a lot of cool D&D on the way. If you like what you saw and heard, please follow. Please do all those things. As always, !BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and !Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when they need help and to reach out to others when you need help as well. No raid today because I'm hoping that you'll all be over there in about 25 minutes over at GOG. Thank you to my wonderful mods as always. Thank you to Triffid, who is amazing, and thank you so much, Triffid. Best in the business. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers. Triffid, Echo, Effect Life, Arenth, Garlic Tofu, Lone Wolf, Trendane. Effect Life, I hope we're going to get that game book illustration stream back for you very soon. I'm hoping next week. We'll see. I'm going to find out from the amazing Terratunes, but hopefully we'll have that back in board soon. Thank you to my wonderful viewers. Thank you to Esthier. Thank you to Amal Omatar. Thank you to Esadian. Thank you to Big Boss Black Fury. Thank you to Boltstonique for the follow. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll be back. Thank you to Chirpinus. Thank you to Cosmic Dean. Thank you to Crit Twitch, to Diginferno, Dragon Spear, who should be listed under mods. ECAG, Gorgar, hosted. Thank you to Live Suing, Mrs. Dunsel, Ms. Lenity. Thank you to Nonstop. Thank you to Osen Man. Thank you to Ronaro. Thank you to Salahala. Thank you to Seth TV, to Squeaky, Tomish Saka. Thank you to Tauntauns, you Christensen, you William. Thank you to Sniskers. Thank you to V&K, Wacko Patatko. Thank you to Wenchkin, and thank you to Zach Clay. And thank you so much to Wenchkin for the raid today. I appreciate it. A special thanks today to my wonderful players, to Trendane, to Brad, to Terry, and to Amal for being awesome and a part of this campaign. And I will catch all of you. Did I say thank you to you, Lone Wolf? I did. Okay, good. But thank you to everybody, and I will see you folks over at GOG for some Ghosts of Saltmarsh at the top of the hour. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Bye for now.